Good Thursday morning in the Mile High City. It's 6 a.m. Thursday, February 22nd. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. We got a whole lot to cover today. Trump's VP picks. You choose the news. Letitia James just deciding I'm going to take the property that belongs to my political opponents. Can we look any more like Russia? And then Penn Pfiffner will join us in the 9 o'clock hour on the attacks on TABOR taking place down at the state capitol. He's the chairman of the TABOR committee. We're defending your taxpayer bill of rights, the money you make, that hard-earned money. I know many of you are already on the road this morning out there making it happen. Let's get to the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff. 32 and mostly cloudy in Denver. Kind of snowy conditions out there in some places. Expecting highs in the upper 40s today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, if you're an AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile customer, your phone might not be working this morning. Downdetector.com is showing a spike in cellular service outages in the past hour, with tens of thousands of customers reporting no service. Wall Street Journal reporting this morning it's been 30 years since food ate up this much of your income. What were you eating in 1994, and what were you paying? A bomb threat on United Airlines last night. A plane diverted a New Jersey to Los Angeles flight. The FBI is not saying if they found anything on the plane or if anyone was taken into custody. The Hunter Biden laptop.
The Verizon outage may be affecting Blake here as well.
This is weird.
I was when I first got up this morning, I was checking Twitter. A lot of people were wondering if this was a attack on
When did you lose
a cyber attack going on. But who knows? We'll have to continue to monitor this. But I guess, yeah, a lot of cell phone outages out there. We're back with Blake Olson.
Hey.
Good morning, Blake.
Sorry, Jeff. All right, here we go. I have no idea. Don't ask me. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Let's see. We were talking about a bomb threat. I think I told you that on a United Airlines plane. Right. Okay. And then Hunter Biden, the laptop hearing in Delaware Superior Court is set to begin today with an attorney with the man who shared its contents on the laptop with then attorney for President Trump, Rudy Giuliani, toward the end of the 2020 presidential campaign. An investigation is ongoing after gunshots were reported near a Denver school Wednesday morning. Police were called to 28th Avenue and Columbine Street near Denver Prep Academy after they received a report of shots fired just before noon. No injuries were reported, and there's no word on any suspects or arrests. The co-owner of the King's storage facility in Pueblo giving details on the discovery of child remains in one of the storage units. Julie Brecky says the child's grandmother came to pick up some items that belonged to the couple that had just been evicted because they didn't pay their bills.
She wanted me to go down and see what I thought about it. And I went down. I said, yeah, that does look a little suspicious, but you need to probably call the police. You have your suspicions that there's probably something there, but you really don't want.
Brecky said she couldn't tell what was in the metal container because it was filled with concrete, but after it was processed by police, they confirmed it was the remains of Yesenia Dominguez. Her parents, Karina Mejeres and Jesus Dominguez, have since been arrested. The remains of Yesenia's brother were also found weeks later in a suitcase in the trunk of a car that was at a local scrapyard. President Biden spoke at a fundraiser event in San Francisco last night, and he said he served with quote unquote real racists during his long career in Washington, guys that have set terrible records on race, he said, but added at least you could work with some of these guys. Biden then spoke about the current Republicans in Congress and said these guys are worse because they do not believe in the Democratic principles. He also spoke about student loan forgiveness, I think.
And I thought I'd make a lot more sense to relieve student debt for families and it would grow our economy.
Well, there were existing programs in the law to fix and adjust the programs. We had to change them to make people actually make them available.
Okay, I'm clear now. The Avs go for 3 straight tonight at the Red Wings. Nuggets back in action tonight at Ball Arena against the Wizards. Number 24, CSU upset by New Mexico last night, 68-66. CU takes on Utah Saturday night. 29 in Westminster, 27 in Parker, 32 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continued just underway. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Whole lot to discuss here. Nikki Haley coming to Colorado. I'm going to email her media people, see if we can get her here in studio.
That would be interesting. That'd
right?
be fantastic.
She's going to be here next week in the run up to Super Tuesday. She's doing a rally in Denver at Wings Over the Rockies, and I think that would be cool. We're going to try to get her here. Yeah. We are not partisan in the sense that we pick. We obviously have our opinions in the race, but we love to host everybody.
Oh yeah. That'd be a really interesting conversation because, I mean, there was one where I saw a clip of one of her recent rallies and unfortunately spent like 60 seconds talking about why she's still in the race and that, she, even though nobody says I can win and all the polls are against me and I'm not one to delegate, it was this laundry list of stuff about why she shouldn't be in the race. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure, speechwriter, if that's
what we want to lead with.
Yeah, it's almost like, come out and going, yes, I know that I'm not very smart. I'm quite ugly. I'm rather lethargic and stupid. And I think you should wait a minute. Hang on. You're not making the best case here for you.
So she's obviously former ambassador to the United Nations. She's going to host a rally at Wings Over the Rockies and on February 27th at 1:30 p.m. February 27th. It's 5 days from today. It's next Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. 2-hour event is free and open to the public, but requires a reservation. I'll post that on my Twitter account where you could sign up for the registration or just go to denvergazette.com. They're reporting this story here. Here's why you got to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
You may be a Trump supporter like I am, right? Or a voted. They don't come to Colorado that often. And during the general election, they ain't coming at all.
No, they're not. We do not matter during the general.
So
we don't.
When I worked for Mitt Romney in 2012, we did rallies at Fiddler's Green. We did rallies at Red Rocks, big one at Red Rocks. We did rallies in Jeffco. We did rallies in Pueblo. We took Romney to Craig, Colorado. We took Romney to Basalt, Colorado.
Jeez,
he was all over, visited Colorado a ton, right?
Wow.
Donald Trump came a few times during the primary or during the general election in 2016, came to Colorado only twice his entire presidency.
Yeah.
He gave a speech at the Air Force Academy and he did one rally in 2020, one in Colorado Springs. And my friend Jenna Ellis was essentially like, that's because I forced him to land the plane there. It was like, really, you're not going to at least go to Colorado Springs and try to rally the troops?
Yeah,
it's one of my, I think, fair critiques of Donald Trump is that he just hasn't spent much time in the Western United States. He'll do 30 plus rallies in Ohio, in Pennsylvania. It's this kind of Karl Rove strategy that there's like 3 states that matter. And so we're going to go visit every block in those 3 states. Meanwhile, the entire Western United States, where Joe Biden got 1/3 of all of his electoral college votes, by the way, or Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Montana's 100,000 votes from being a blue state.
Wow.
Like there's a shift happening in the Western United States. And this is, there's 2 fair critiques. 1, Donald Trump doesn't visit the West very often. 2, the national conservative movement, the RNC, still thinks that Colorado's like George W. Bush land and Bill Owens is the governor here. Like if you go to Washington, D.C., that's what they still think about this. There has not been an RNC convention anywhere in the Western United States since Bob Dole was the nominee in 1996.
God, that's not good.
Think about what the Democrats did. 2008, Barack Obama, Denver, Colorado, Mile High Stadium.
Yeah.
80,000 people. Colorado was generally, kind of a reddish state back then. They brought Barack Obama in. They saw the future. They saw the potential demographic changes happening to Colorado, and they invested in it. By 2023, 2024, not a single statewide Republican in Colorado, supermajority in the House. Democrats think better long-term with regards to investing in these states and trying to turn them. And Republicans are like, well, let's just go back to Ohio and Pennsylvania. And
I think that part of it is the transactional nature of Donald Trump. And he looks at these appearances based on value. And we don't hold the value that Illinois, that Ohio, that those states do simply because of electoral votes. So he's not looking at for him, it's not worth coming here because of how few votes we are, where the Democrats, I believe, have understood the larger math problem and said, okay, if we can gather the little ones, if we lose some of the big ones, the math can still work out for us. And this is honestly something that you discover in many board games. One of the games that teaches you this, but it's more about economy, is Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
Settlers of Catan, because you can corner one particular commodity. But sometimes that hurts. But sometimes if someone is cornering one particular commodity, focusing on those large electoral states, you can pick up some of the smaller commodities that don't necessarily produce as much, but you've got more leverage at that point.
Well, there's still 2 U.S. Senate seats in each one of these states, right? Yeah. So listen to Montana, 100,000 votes. Montana, 100,000 votes and 2 U.S. Senate seats.
Yeah.
Where do you think the Democrats are putting their money right now?
Oh, yeah. And because look at, and again, for me, if I am, and I would like to hear about your strategy. If I am thinking about putting money into Senate versus House, I'm putting money into Senate because the return is much greater because you only have 2. Yep, it's 6 years and it's a smaller body. I can get things through Senate. The idea, I've always heard this, and I forgot who I heard it from, a lawmaker that said it's really interesting that if you're a senator and you're walking down the hall with 4 of your friends, you're an actual force inside of that body. If you're in the House and you're walking down the hall with 4 of your friends, you don't matter at all. You're worthless.
That happens to a lot of people that finally get elected into Congress. They're like, I am a congressman. No, you're one of 435. Congratulations. You're definitely elite in America.
Yes, you are.
Not a lot of people have done that. But when you're talking about effectiveness, you have to be a handful of either committee chairmen, which means you're spending most of your time fundraising to get those positions.
Exactly.
Right? You're in leadership, or there is this one avenue. I've seen it done by people where they'll take on their own kind of pet projects. Joe Pitts was one of these out of Pennsylvania. There's another guy out of New Jersey that did this, like international religious freedom, like the plight of persecuted Christians in India, for instance. I can use my bully pulpit and my convening power in Washington, D.C. to, you saw this with Charlie Wilson's War.
Oh, yes.
That's an example, right? Where you you find like one little niche thing that nobody else thinks about, and you kind of wiggle your way through Washington, D.C. to make it relevant.
Yeah. And you become that guy.
And you become that guy and go. But for the most part, people get there and they're like, I get on a plane 50 weeks out of the year. I'm mostly dealing with constituent services and nobody listens to me.
Yeah. It's the idea of, imagine some of the graduating classes for some of our, mid-range high schools here that are, 400 or 500 kids rather than the 900 like some of the larger ones. But those 400 or 500 classes, that's what you are. You're one kid in that graduating class. If you guys were in the gym, sitting in those, sitting in the bleachers, and you stand there and go, I think we should. How much of a voice do you really have if you don't get a group of those together? I mean, you're just one person in the graduating class. That's all you are.
So here's the question. This is what I want to dive into today. Donald Trump yesterday reveals his VP shortlist, including DeSantis, Scott, Ramaswamy, Noem, Donalds, and Gabbard. Reporting here from Fox, former President Trump, pointing to Tim Scott as a potential running mate, says a lot of people are talking about that gentleman right over there. Former President Trump indicated that at least half a dozen contenders, including 3 former rivals from the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, are on his short list for running mate, the commanding frontrunner for the GOP nomination has plenty of praise for one of those potential candidates who joined Trump at a Fox News town hall on Tuesday in the upstate South Carolina city. During the program, which ran on Fox, the Ingram angle, Trump was asked about a half dozen potential running mate choices. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, multimillionaire biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, Representative Byron Donalds of Florida, and former Representative Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, a Democrat turned independent. Are they all on your short list? Host Laura Ingraham asked the former president. They are. Honestly, all of these are good people. They're all good. They are all solid. So after that happened yesterday, my phone blew up. And people were asking, they were taking polls of conservative leaders around the country. Who would you like to see at this point? Because this is when the decision is being made within the Trump operation.
Yeah.
Who do you want to see there? And I shared mine, and I'll share them with you in a second. Ooh. But I would love to hear from our listeners. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Who is your pick? Who would get you the most fired up? Yeah. Who do you think is the best match? So there are so many different directions you can take this, right? So let's start with one, the complete ineptitude of Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Right. So you can contrast it with a vice president. You may not like Trump, but you want to contrast it, Kamala Harris's complete ineptitude, with somebody that is qualified.
Yeah. And
like
she was a strategy pick.
Right, exactly.
Before you get the names, she was strategy because it's old guy, young woman. That was it. In many ways, it was the Democrat version of McCain Palin. Yeah. Again, just on the surface. I'm just saying, just based on appearance. Okay, now go back to the people you're talking about.
So you can go competency. You can go fresh face, right? More like idea, like Vivek Ramaswamy, where you're looking at somebody who is great on a stage, right? Great in front of a camera, compelling message. And that's really essentially what the vice president does, right?
We probably should discuss his ideas first.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes he's an idea guy, but those ideas sometimes, wow. Okay.
So, but he's one of the most competent communicators on the entire list there.
Hands down.
So you have people that lead like Ron DeSantis. I have led a state. I have the background, the experience, the track record of getting things done as a chief executive, not necessarily the role of a vice president, right? It's like one of the most, it's like being the Queen of England. You're kind of like, okay. Yeah. But it sets them up. We've had future presidents that come as vice presidents. George H.W. Bush is one of them. Al Gore, not so much.
Yeah.
So you can go that route, or you can go compelling speaker, or you can go fresh face. Yeah. Somebody that's just doesn't have a ton of baggage. That's interesting, like Byron Donald.
Yep. As long as they know how to spell potato on a chalkboard, then you're okay. Thank you for appreciating the Dan Quayle reference.
Dude, whatever happened to that guy? We tried to invite him to CCU. So he lives in Arizona right now. That's where he lives. But nobody knows that. We had to track him down. He has a website still. Maybe we can pull it up. Dan Quayle. I think he went into private law.
Probably smart
afterwards, and just was kind of a rainmaker for some firms. But
great.
Talk about a guy that just kind of disappeared.
Oh yeah, all because of a word. That's really what it was, and it's silly to think about that, but that's really what kind of like hurt his reputation. Yeah.
So this is a total side note. The ability to respond to controversies like that have changed. So I'll give you an example.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So back then it was a big embarrassment, and you kind of just like disappeared, like that Homer Simpson into the
it's a great visual, just backing into the head. Yes, exactly.
Potato.
Yeah.
All right. So remember when Marco Rubio did the State of the Union response?
Oh yeah.
And he couldn't find the water.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You could watch him try to deal with the mouth that was drying up and all that stuff, and he's off camera trying his arm trying to find the water, and then he awkwardly takes the drink.
Yes.
Keep going. So I've been in that exact situation when I did my very first appearance on Fox.
No.
And that camera red light comes on, and you're like national broadcast television, and it's a weird thing where your brain is like shuts down all the saliva in your mouth.
And I think it has to do in part because that stupid red light. I think there's something there. If they just would say, Your Honor, it was a white light or something else, I think it has to do with the red. There's something psychological there because I know so many people that's like, and it is. The saliva immediately dries up.
Dries up and you're stuck.
Yeah.
So what did Rubio do that night? Do you remember this?
No.
That night?
What did he do?
On all of his social medias and with an email, that night, within 2 hours, you could order the Marco Rubio water bottle.
That is so smart. That is so smart.
Like, right? Just embrace it.
Yeah.
Shrug it off. Laugh. It was a stupid thing. Like if you can now these days order a potato to send to people. I don't know.
Yes, I've seen that. Yes,
ads.
I have considered that honestly several times. I'm like
former bosses,
exactly.
things
Just
like
because,
that.
and in all honesty, there was
ex-girlfriends
and a couple of friends, just because it is so ridiculous. Just like potato,
right?
It's just because it makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. So it's interesting how that's changed. All right, we're getting some text messages coming in. Tim Scott or Christy Nome, tell us why.
Yeah.
So
what's the
I
strategy?
appreciate the vote. What is the strategy behind it? Why are you looking at them?
Yeah, what do they bring to the table? What is it that you think both of them would be able to do? For me, I think anybody from Florida is off the table simply because that's where Donald Trump's from. I think it hurts because you're always looking to spread it across the country. So
more
because
states.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
then the Christy Nome, what is South Dakota going to do for you?
Yeah, I know. That's one of the things too. Yeah, and he already has South Carolina, so he doesn't necessarily need Nikki Haley per se. Is another one that's not on that list. But I still think that there is some draw there. That if she can get any sort of traction, do you put them together to try to coalesce the entire party?
Yeah,
I don't know, but they would dislike each other so much.
I know. I think they tried that in the first term.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
She lasted a year or two in the UN position. Good morning, Vice President Ben Carson. Thanks, Joan from Lakewood. Let us know the reason why.
Yeah, please.
4944 Ron DeSantis to be VP. He would need to trade in his 4-inch heel lifter boots for Trump's new $399 golden shoes.
Oh, God. Now, what do you think? What do you think? Call in and let us know. Would it work that the fact that DeSantis is from Florida? But I do think that there is some traction for governor because we as voters nationally seem to like governors better than senators, House members, things like that. We view them as an executive, kind of a junior executive, and they have that experience. So there is some merit to DeSantis. I just think that both of them out of Florida, I think you're washing your hands of a large portion of the western part of the United States because they're going to go, well, the Florida people?
J.D. Vance then from Ohio?
Oh, I think J.D. is problematic because he was anti-Trump before he was pro-Trump. And I think that's where he is going to get hung up. Is they are going to sit there and say, one, they're going to talk about all the money and where he came from based on the cash to walk into the office, regardless of the fact that each and every one of them do the same thing. Because we know that unless you have a certain amount in your bank account, they don't allow you to run. Yeah. So we know this. So again, but that's going to be a problem. But him being what the Democrats will do is they'll pull all the anti-Trump stuff and say, and now he's his boy. That's what they'll do. And it's a fair critique, but yeah, that's the weakness there in him.
Tim Scott for VP, the black vote. Do you actually think I've known so many black friends that have run in the Republican Party and the black community just never turned out for them.
The thing for me is I disagree with the premise that because someone is a certain sex, religion, or race, that automatically gets someone to vote for them. I think what it does is gets consideration. It gets consideration you normally wouldn't get, that it opens up that door for a conversation about, well, this person seems to represent a group that I either have an affinity with or am part of. Do they largely represent then what is important to me? So I think it could get some consideration.
Yeah.
But is Tim Scott's message going to resonate with the community? Because that's what it's going to come down to. Because, we understand why the phrase in that community, Uncle Tom, exists. And for exactly that kind of reason. So that's part of the problem I think they have.
Well, give us a call, 303-696-1971. Who is your pick for VP? Does that potential pick change your view of Trump? So let's say you don't like Trump, but they pick somebody you really do like. Would you be willing to go over and support that ticket over a Biden-Harris?
I like that. I'm going to make this question stronger. Who is that candidate that would make you vote?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that would consider that. Who would it? Who is the person that Trump could, that you hate Trump right now? You're like, no. I'm going to sit this out. I can't possibly flick for Biden, but I can't vote for Trump. who's that person he puts on the
Yeah.
ticket that you're like,
That's a good
all
question.
right, I can now color that bubble in. I can flip that switch. Well, who's that person?
That is a good question. 303-696-1971 or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Jeff Hunt here for my friends at Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggested you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer. Dan is also a former seminarian like me. We actually sat around reading the Bible in school. Dan is dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. So when Jokic gets into a pickle, he calls Dan. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, call 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dankapleslaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. Dan would be absolutely the first person I call if I needed help. All right. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. We'll be taking your calls.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, yesterday, Donald Trump reveals some of his VP shortlists, including DeSantis, Scott, Ramaswamy, Noam, Donalds, Gabbard. And we're getting a whole lot of text messages on who you would pick. Who's your top pick? Who helps Donald Trump get across the finish line? Or if you don't like Trump, who could he pick that you go, you know what? I'm willing to jump in and pull the trigger for him. So let us know. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Hey, Blake Olson, what are you working on at the bottom of the hour for the news coming up?
I'd like to give you my vote for Donalds. Byron Donalds is the best to me.
You like
outspoken, yeah, great communicator, personality. I mean, he's a polar opposite of Tim Scott, but honestly, I don't think the VP really matters in the end. Even though Noam, I think she's outstanding and it brings in the West. But DeSantis is saying this morning that he doesn't want to run for VP. So taking a look at that. Also, evidently, there's a cellular outage across the country. AT&T reporting tens of thousands of customers affected. President Biden said last night, Jeff, that Republicans are worse than the real, quote unquote, real racists he used to work with a long time ago in Congress.
Like Robert Byrd, the ones that were part of his party.
Exactly. So critics saying this morning, you mean, like the Southern Democrats? Exactly. Another warning for Colorado hikers to be careful and aware. A woman falls to her death on Wednesday hiking. So be aware.
Thanks.
And you and Billy, I'm sure you've heard of Buc-ee's, correct?
Yeah, man.
Huge convenience store. Yep. Opening, let's see, next month. We'll talk about that coming up north on I-25.
I'm so excited.
The Johnstown exit.
I have got a thermal cup that a really good friend of mine brought back for me from a Buc-ee's while he was traveling elsewhere in the country. And he's like, you can't get this anywhere else. And it is a thermal tumbler, and it is fantastic. Has a lid and everything. It's one of my favorite cups.
It's incredible. I mean, it's like the Walmart of convenience stores.
It is.
My boys are thrilled about it opening up, and Jeff, your boys will be as well, and you as well, Billy, because your son is at CSU.
I know.
So,
it's a new place to stop going back and forth. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just funny watching this thing being built. It's up on a hill. And I mean, it looks like the Taj Mahal on that Johnstown exit. So we'll have a lot more coming up at the top of the hour. But Donalds is my guy.
There you go, Bill. Are you ready to reveal your pick if you had to pick on a VP?
God, that's
would it change you, Mr. Independent?
Yeah, here's the one, and this is the odd thing, and it would never, ever, ever come to pass. The one that would change
Taylor Swift.
Nicely done. That's fantastic, sir. The one that would really make me consider it would be Nikki Haley, honestly, because personally, again, I'm an independent, not a Democrat, not a Republican. For me, in this election cycle, based on the candidates that have kind of bubbled up, Haley to me is easily the most attractive. There is so much about her that I like. And I think she fills in gaps of things that I dislike about the other top running candidates, both Biden and Trump. And I think her message can resonate. And I think that she can persuade some of those middle of the road persuadable voters, the 10,000, 11,000 people that you need in certain districts in those important states in order to get them to vote Republican. I think that her message can really, really resonate. And it would be a stark contrast between Biden and her every time you see an advertisement, every time you see news coverage, if God forbid a debate, if Biden was that stupid, oh my Lord. I mean, that would be just a bloodletting. And that to me would be over the grind of a election cycle. The just stark contrast that for me would be absorbed just based on osmosis, only because of media coverage and advertising, that it would be a very stark difference between the two. And I think it could be very effective. But I'm also kind of an idiot, so who knows?
Well, I mean, look, I've gone through competitive primaries, and the point is to beat up your opponent, to go to war against your opponent. And so can they come back together afterwards? Sure. Absolutely. I think Donald Trump values loyalty probably at a higher level than just about anybody else I know.
I would agree.
And so for that reason, I'm not sure it would happen. But it would be interesting. It would be compelling. So for me, I'm an absolute Trump supporter in this election. Ron DeSantis has to be the president of the United States at some point. He has to be. For the sake of this country.
God, I would love again.
I think
on a side note, I would love to go down that to whether or not he has burnt his political capital, but we can't do that now. We can't do that now because we got to focus on this because that would take us in a different direction.
So,
but
anything that gets him closer to that, like he's literally, if you put together in a lab the most perfect conservative to lead an executive branch, whether it's a state like Florida or the presidency of the United States, he would be it. I mean, military experience. He's not quite as charismatic as I like. I think he's more introverted than extroverted, but he's done a great job with Florida. We're all old enough to remember when it came down to hanging chads in Florida, right? And this guy's winning by bigger and bigger percentages. So I think he's demonstrated that conservative ideas win, that he can win, that he can take a relatively purplish state and make it more conservative. And he's been bold. And I think he absolutely, for the future of this country, needs to be the president of the United States. So if I can get him closer to that on the VP stage, I would be excited about it.
DeSantis question, because you went around and you talked about bringing Romney around to all the places in Colorado. The weakness that I see that is the largest weakness inside of DeSantis and a further political career is his transactional inability. He's really bad at that one-on-one transactional.
No, he is.
And he is interpersonal kryptonite. He does not function well one-on-one with people. His reactions, he doesn't create genuine connections, and his mannerisms when he's speaking in public are weird. He's got this really weird head bob, and when his face rests, he doesn't. It's a resting bee face. I mean, it's not good. And there are times I saw him at a fair, and kid comes up and I think has a snow cone, and his reaction to the kid is, "That's a lot of sugar." Like, are you dense? How dense are you? That's the thing to talk to the kid about?
So
it just really.
What he loves, and I've talked to people that know him personally, have gone to law school with him, know him going back to that time. You're right. He's absolutely not a Bill Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to the ability to work a room, connect with voters, all that stuff.
Side note on that. I was working as a news reporter, got to cover Clinton coming through while he was president here doing an event. And I never was a Bill Clinton fan. But when he walked in that room, I went, oh, I get it. Yeah. There was an aura. There was an energy. And to watch him work the room, I sat there and went, I still do not like you. I still will not vote for you. But boy, do I get it. I get it.
So he doesn't have that, but he's a policy wonk. Like what DeSantis really likes to do is sit in a room and read bills.
That's funny.
So, but he's getting stuff done in Florida. I would like to see that. My second pick, and this is mostly because I just know her personally.
Yeah.
She's been to the Western Conservative Summit twice. I know her parents. Her parents are passionate social conservatives in the state of Hawaii. She ran for Congress as a Democrat. I don't think necessarily because she believed all those, but because that's the only thing you can do in Florida or in Hawaii. I mean, you're just not going to be elected as a Republican. And people do this in Texas too. They're secretly Democrats, but they run as Republicans in order to get elected. But I just really like her as a person, and I think I like the independent nature that she has. So it'd probably be
she's really interesting. Yeah, she'd be a really strong VP pick. The issue that I've got
Tulsi.
is the profile. I'm worried about, is the profile high enough? The other thing that I would worry about picking Tulsi would be there's going to be a segment of voters that are persuadable, and these would be those soft D's, and also the ones that are independent that sit with me but easily lean more Democrat. The ones that even though they claim unaffiliation or independent, they more times than not will vote Democrat. Mm-hmm. I think she may be viewed as a traitor. And I think that's, and again, I use that word in the broad colloquial sense, not as an actual traitor, but the idea that, oh my gosh, you turned on the party. That's the idea that am I going to go and cross that line? Is that person going to pull me over? However, I do believe there are some with that D beside their name that like her so much that would go, oh, I like the idea of and forwarding her. I think it could be persuadable. I'm not sold that it could be significant enough, but that's a great pick. That's a great. That's an interesting
on
pick.
the ultra VIP line from the stunning Nicole Hunt, Tulsi Gabbard, she'll bring over the independents.
Yeah, I can agree with your wife. I think that she can. And I think she can get those soft Republicans that chose not to vote for Donald Trump last time, which we know we saw that in Arizona, where Republicans further down the ballot got their names checked and Trump didn't. So there's some statistics behind there. I think she's got something there. Yeah.
Trump is so polarizing. I don't think his VP pick matters one bit. It would not change one vote.
Interesting.
So from 4944, let's go to Tony, line 1. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I don't necessarily have a pick, but just a couple observations. One, I'm surprised that Kerry Lake and Stefanik were not on his short list.
That's
and
true.
After they
MTG?
interviewed so hard for that job.
Yeah, and I would put MTG in that too, because I firmly believe, like you, those three were doing public auditions for the past 2 years to get that Veep pick.
And maybe the advisors kind of said, okay, we got enough crazy on the ticket with Trump. We don't need to add more crazy.
Nice
so
shot.
maybe they wanted to go a different route. Now, you guys talk about this other paradigm that goes on where, somebody hated him before they liked him. And that can be an issue. But I think some of these candidates might be keeping in mind, he'll like you until he hates you. And once he hates you, your political career is over. So
that's interesting.
The VP pick could be their last stop. I mean, it's Pence. It was Pence's last stop. We saw what happened to America's governor is Giuliani. And I just heard what's his name in the evening refer to DeSantis as America's governor. And if some of these people want a career beyond the vice presidency. And given what Trump will ask them to do, and I think it's going to be a whole lot more than he asked Pence to do on January 6th. He's going to ask a whole lot more from these people. They could get tainted, and they may say, "I've got more political career. I'm going to let the MAGA thing pass and move on to wait until 28."
I think that's interesting, Tony, because I think there was a halo around Biden from the Obama administration that helped him in the previous Democrat primary. And I think you got a point there.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. Worth thinking about. You guys have a good day.
Tony, thanks so much for the call. That was a great call. I really appreciate Tony taking the time to let us know. A lot of text messages. You can't put two raging bulls together in the same pen. DeSantis is a no. I would take Tulsi Gabbard over Nikki Haley. Nikki showed she will say anything to win a vote. DeSantis is the Danielle Jurinsky of Florida. Okay, there you go.
Hey, nice.
Danielle's interview with us, by the way, totally going viral on my Twitter.
It was fantastic. She's so good.
Tim Scott, energy and personality. Who know if Trump lasts through the 4 years?
Ooh, interesting.
Noam, just in this country now, represents half the voters and be able to articulate the pro-life issue. Young Republican seems to like Tulsi. So keep them coming and let us know. 303-696-1971. Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go, and their all 5-star reviews confirm this. Joyce replied to my initial email and scheduled the estimate quickly. Installation was quick and clean. The shelves are very sturdy and made better than most I've seen. Very, very happy customer. And I've put this off for so long thinking it was going to be so much more expensive. It wasn't. It was life-changing. Those are just some of the overjoyed customers that have submitted reports of what it was like to work with roll-em-out shelves. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when roll-em-out shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601, or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you, 303-475-9601, rollemoutshelves.com. Trump has revealed his VP shortlist to include DeSantis, Scott Ramaswamy, Noam, Donalds, Gabbard. Who's your pick? Let us know. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. The European Union has agreed to a new round of sanctions in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. For the first time, the bloc is also targeting companies in China, Hong Kong, India and elsewhere, which it says are facilitating Russia's war effort. The new sanctions also target 200 individuals in Russia linked to the aggression, bringing that total number of sanctioned Russians close to 2,000. Officials here say the new measures will be implemented to coincide with the 2-year anniversary on Friday of Russia's brutal full-scale invasion of Ukraine. President Joe Biden has signed an executive order to increase cybersecurity at America's ports. It comes in response to fears of hackers gaining access to vital infrastructure in the U.S. that is Chinese-made. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
The Biden administration is making it clear it's time to get tough on cybersecurity at the US's ports, the country's main point of entry for trade. This executive order, along with $20 billion in investment, is aimed at making the US less vulnerable to cyber attack or surveillance from China. That, considering 80% of ship-to-shore cranes at US ports are manufactured in China and use Chinese software, leading to concerns the Chinese government could use them for surveillance.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Good morning. Let's jump into You Choose the News, Mr. Bill.
Yes, without any further ado, we have a dude enough this morning. It is time for everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. Yes, we have scoured the interwebs this morning for Oh, God, it's got to be under 5 minutes. To find really stupid stories about us humans because we do a lot of dumb things and giving them more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game. Why? Because we enjoy being silly and nobody in charge wakes up for 9 minutes. And joining us, of course, is our special guest, Blake Olson from the newsroom. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Sorry, Billy. I'm ready to go.
It's okay. All right. Blake just had to take it was his morning tequila shot that he's required to do before the game. So, all righty, here we go. Headline number 1, Biden's DOJ caught making up evidence. Headline number 2, Google wants to kill you. Headline number 3, this is definitely not about the election. And headline number 4, this is no way to run away from the law. All righty, sir. Your choices yet again are Biden's DOJ caught making up evidence. Google wants to kill you. Definitely not about the election and no way to run from the law.
I like the no way to run from the law.
Yes, this is no way to run from the law. And we go to West Plains. And Torrey Thompson said in his 20-year career of law enforcement with Howell County Sheriff's Office, he's never seen an incident like this. Back in November, the office sent him out to investigate a horrible accident that took place on a farm. 60-year-old man, unfortunately, is a paraplegic, lost feeling and use of his extremities, but still working hard on the farm. During his time in the field, he lost his feet.
Oh, boy.
They were cut off by a brush hog, which
I know exactly what those are.
Yes. So they went in and they took a look at it and they said, wait. The problem with part of it was also they couldn't find his feet during the time. They thought that was kind of weird that the feet just weren't there. They were located later, but that's because the plan was later revealed. This wasn't an accident. This was insurance fraud. The 60-year-old man had paid a gentleman to come all the way from Florida to come in there and use a hatchet to chop off his feet. And then his idea was he was going to claim the insurance that the brush hog took his feet. Unfortunately for him, the investigators are rather familiar with farm accidents, and they recognized immediately that those injuries are too clean for something done by a brush hog. Now, he's not going to be formally charged because he never filed the insurance claim. So, yeah.
Gosh.
I know.
And gave up a lot. That's
exactly.
Literally.
I mean, imagine asking someone, hey, I got an idea.
Right.
All right. Okay, second choice, sir.
How much did he pay the guy?
I don't know. It didn't say. I'll have to find out. Probably knowing Florida, probably just warm beer. Okay, sorry. Okay. Biden's DOJ caught making up evidence. Google wants to kill you, or definitely not about the election.
Google wants to kill you.
Google does want to kill you, and that's what 2 German tourists found out recently. They are lucky to be alive after getting lost in far North Queensland. And it's all Google's fault. The pair were trying to drive between Cairns and Bamaga as they reached Cone. They followed their directions on Google Maps because it's Google Maps. They obviously know better. It took them off the regular road onto a development road that took them into a national park. 60 kilometers in, they became bogged in. They hit a big gully that then has you get entrapped in there as mud and water, and you can't get out. So they abandoned the vehicle and spent the next week trying to walk back to Cone. No. They went through rainstorms, had to battle off crocodiles and all sorts of other nasty thingies that want to kill you just because of Google. See, Google wants to kill you. There's
a whole Office episode about
that.
Oh,
yes. Alrighty, Blake, choose wisely. This is our final choice this morning. You have a choice of Biden's DOJ caught making up evidence or definitely not about the election.
Biden's DOJ.
All right. Biden's DOJ caught making up evidence. Federal prosecutors have made a mistake in court in a recent filing. Oddly, it's in a filing against Hunter Biden. Now, this is in the whole special investigation, and they produced a picture that showed a table with lines of cocaine on it, allegedly. This went viral. In fact, Fox News' very own Sean Hannity dedicated an entire segment to Is This Cocaine? The problem is Biden's DOJ didn't necessarily do their back work and their investigation properly. That picture is not taken by Hunter Biden. It was a picture of a picture, and it shows lines of sawdust on a table saw. The picture was first sent to Hunter Biden in 2018 by his psychiatrist. The psychiatrist was sharing a picture from a master carpenter who was a coke addict and said he still, even though he's going through recovery, still sometimes puts his sawdust lines into coke lines because he had that much of an addiction. And he was sharing, and the psychiatrist was sharing with Hunter that everybody goes through these type of difficulties. So, yeah. Nice. All righty. That's it.
Great
that is choice. All the time. Hey, thanks for playing along, Blake. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for you. Choose the News. We'll check in with Blake in just a second. Yeah, as always, I am a giant loser, but it is Blake and Jeff that are your giant winners, and we are going to get to the closeout of this hour. And just remember, this is definitely not sponsored by Lair Fireplace and Patio. They want nothing to do with this, but they will make your house more efficient, both in the heat, in the summer and the winter, with their fireplaces and great things for outside.
All right, we're talking Trump's VP shortlist. Who's on your list? We'd love to hear. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, America. All of you heading out to work, contributing, making this world a better place, dropping your children off at school.
Yeah, we've been to work here for hours. What are you doing? Lazy.
Well,
I tease.
You know, you could just wait for Jared Polis to send you your great Colorado payback check.
Yeah, that's what I need.
No,
it's my own
then
tax
you can
money.
get up at noon.
I need that. I need that lap of luxury lifestyle.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, and we're asking you who is your pick today. Yesterday, Trump revealed his VP shortlist to include DeSantis, Scott, Ramaswamy, Noem, Donalds, Gabbard. Who's your pick? Who's going to help Donald Trump win? If you don't like Donald Trump, could he pick somebody that okay, now maybe I'm willing to jump in and pull the lever for him? Love to hear from you. I'm not a fan of Trump, but if you pick Liz Cheney, I would consider it. I think she's very intelligent, and I would be, at least be able to hear her out.
That would be an earthquake, but that could be a game changer. Honestly, that to me, that would be better than Haley. and layers better.
How do you operate as a president when you just you have to constantly look over your shoulder to look for a knife in your back?
That would be interesting.
Let's go to Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning. I'm done if that happens. 32, mostly cloudy, some flurries in the area, expecting highs in the upper 40s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, tens of thousands of people across the country have been affected this morning by a cellular outage. Things started going south this morning around 2:30 Denver time. AT&T users reporting the most outages, according to downdetector.com. President Biden is considering using executive action to curtail the ability of illegal immigrants to seek asylum at the southern border. It would reportedly target those who cross the border illegally. Tens of thousands of illegal immigrants invading the country every week. It must be an election year. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says he doesn't want to be Donald Trump's running mate. The former GOP presidential candidate said Wednesday that he's looking at other options, not long after Trump said DeSantis was on a short list of potential candidates for VP. Crime victims in Colorado are fighting to make sure murder suspects aren't given bail. The state's highest court ruled last year that bond must be granted since there's no death penalty. But if a new bill passes, the decision will be left up to voters in November. The bill cleared another hurdle Wednesday after lawmakers heard testimony at a committee hearing where everyone was in support. Here's a tragic reminder to be extra careful while hiking the great outdoors. A woman fell to her death on Wednesday at Colorado National Monument. The Mesa County Sheriff's Office says a witness saw her tumble 60 feet in the area of Rough Canyon Lemon Squeezer. Search and rescue volunteers rushed to the scene and tried to save the 41-year-old, but her injuries were too severe. The Walmart of convenience stores opening next month on I-25 and the Johnstown exit in northern Colorado.
You go down the highway, you see this big old Buc-ee's logo, and it feels like it's an oasis. Families appreciate a clean facility. And, we've added on to that. We've added some amazing food offerings. We have a cult following.
I'm telling you, it has Billy written all over it. Jeff and Billy will take their families there, I'm sure, when it opens. And I will as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a great place. Avs go for 3 straight tonight at the Red Wings. Nuggets back in action this evening at Ball Arena against the Wizards. Number 24, Colorado State, upset by New Mexico last night, 68-66. 29 in North Glen, 30 in Greenwood Village right now, and 32 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, we are off and running with the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to go to the VIP line for a little unexpected call. It's always fun when our friends call. CJ Pearson on the VIP line. If you don't know CJ, he's obviously, you've probably seen him on PragerU, but he's just qualified for a special election in Georgia's to be the next state representative in Georgia. He's going to hold the Soros-backed prosecutors like Fani Willis accountable. Brother, thanks for the call, man.
Anytime, Jeff. It's so good to catch up with you. Congratulations on the new show.
Oh, I appreciate it. We are having fun. This show has been crushing it. I think the Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS is going to be the biggest morning show. We invite people into the conversation. You're not just talked at. There's not just a monologue. It's not just news. It's the conversation that actually matters. So, CJ Pearson, you've seen him probably at the Western Conservative Summit. If you go to the Centennial Institute, last month's Centennial Review was his speech with a great line from this last year's Western Conservative Summit. It was education that got us into these problems in this country, and it's education that's going to get us out. What did you mean by that, CJ?
I think the left has been very intentional about targeting, America's young people. And it's almost biblical in a very warped sense, right? The Bible says that we should train up children the way in which they should go, that so when they're old, they won't depart from it. And the left has been doing that very thing, introducing left-wing values to them, as soon as and early as preschool these days. And I think that as conservatives, we've got to be vigilant ourselves. When the left wants to educate, America's young people about LGBT history, let's teach them American history. Let's require basic things like passing a civics test before you graduate high school. Let's teach them about the values of our founding fathers, the very things that make America America. And let's be vigilant about that. I think for far too long, we have ceded America's schools and institutions to the left, allowing them to kind of build up a monopoly over time. And I think one thing that was incredible about working with PragerU is that we were very intentional about that very thing. If education is the reason that we've gotten into all of this, we've got to get it. We've got to right that ship, take back our schools, and there are so many resources to do that now. So it's been great to be a part of that.
That's awesome. You've been to a few Western Conservative Summits. Always a star, especially with the young people, man. They get really excited. We do a whole thing at the summit called the Western Conservative Summit Youth Congress, where we're actually training people to be statesmen, right? They come in, they're sworn in. They have over the course of 3 days the opportunity to write a bill. They have to learn to work with their colleagues to introduce it. They have to go through a committee hearing. They have to face mock lobbyists from the other side that want to try to shut it down. We can't just wait for young Christian conservatives to show up and just hope, I hope you can help run our country. You have to train them. But CJ Pearson, you are stepping into it. Now you've decided to run as a state rep in Georgia. What was behind that decision?
Well, first and foremost, I'll say, too, if more members of Congress went through that program, Washington would probably function a whole lot better these days. So maybe we should create an adult program for that. But, in terms of this race, I've got to tell you, it was all really in God's timing. I had no intention of running for office this year or anytime soon. It's 2024. I was fully committed to doing all that I can to help, President Trump return to the White House by reaching young people and communities of color. That was my plan for 2024. But when this seat opened up in my hometown, I saw the type of candidates that were running, establishment guys who would go along to get along Republicans. And I said, we need more than that. We need proven conservative fighters, especially in a state like Georgia, which has really become ground zero for everything that's going wrong in this country. We're seeing the weaponization of the criminal justice system in Georgia, via this sham Fani Willis trial, where, she goes on, she can't even, be a professional while she's on the stand. And it's reprehensible. And I'll tell people this all the time. It's like, on day one, when I'm elected, I'm going after Fani Willis. And the reason is, I know she likes to play the race card with folks. I hope she'll try to play it with me, because that card's going to decline. But even beyond that, I think it's important to note that even if you don't have a problem with her politically motivated persecution of President Trump, why not an issue with her misuse of government funds to fund an affair with a married man? If Fani Willis wanted to be someone's sugar mama, that is her prerogative. But to use taxpayer dollars to do it, that's reprehensible and it's illegal, and we should, go after the problem there. So I think in Georgia, we just need more conservative backbones who aren't afraid to fight, aren't afraid to run to the front lines, and instead of seeking safety on the sidelines.
Now, CJ, Bill Thorpe here. Question about your implications there with Fani Willis. Do the allegations about the sugar mama functionally change the case in any way, shape, or form against President Trump? Can't she be removed and another DA can be placed in there and the case can go forward?
Yeah, it definitely could. And I think the focus right now is getting her disqualified, as I think she should be. She was actually already disqualified from prosecuting the lieutenant governor in this case. She sought indictment against Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, who is very close to the president, a great ally of his, because during this prosecution of the lieutenant governor or the indictment process, she held a fundraiser for his Democratic opponent. while she's trying to throw him in jail. And so this has actually been, just a pattern of behavior from her, just an absolute disregard for ethics and just basic prosecutorial discretion. She was barred from that case. But, you're right. This could be, sent to another DA who would then make the decision about whether or not this case should still be pursued based on the merits, which I'm super interested in. I think that this case is troubling, but I also think that you have to realize that this case is going to be tried in Fulton County. If Donald Trump jaywalked in Fulton County, Atlanta, they would probably give him life in prison if they could. So I think there also needs to be a conversation about change of venue and all of those things, but I'll leave that to the lawyers. But I don't think this case should have even been pursued to begin with.
CJ Pearson, only 21 years old. Are you still only 21?
Yeah, only 21.
Running to be Georgia's next state representative. So the thing I love the most about the Western Conservative Summit, if you ask me, out of all the things we get to do, we get to host political candidates. We get to be a part of the conservative movement in Colorado. We get to train young people. It's all very exciting. But identifying the next generation of conservative leaders has been honestly the most rewarding part of it. When Charlie Kirk approached us in 2015, said, "Hey, I've got this thing called Turning Point USA. Could I be on the main stage?" When we noticed this blogger starting to rise up in 2017, 18, Matt Walsh, he joined us. We've had Benny Johnson, Isabel Brown, CJ Pearson is right there in the mix. So you can follow and learn more about CJ. He is a future national leader for this country. He already is a national leader, but when you talk about, he's now starting to get into office and he's going to be making critical decisions for the state of Georgia. And then probably, I think he's going to end up in the Senate someday, maybe even go further than that. But go to twitter.com/the CJ Pearson. The CJ Pearson, incredibly intelligent, engaged, and he's got the right values. And he came to these on his own. If you read his background in his bio, he just, he was challenged in a class as to who he was going to vote for, John McCain or Barack Obama. He went out there and did his own research when he was a young kid, and even pushed back against his family and his parents. It was remarkable, CJ.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Chef. And, you're absolutely right. It was definitely me going my own way on a lot of those issues. And my grandparents who raised me were certainly not the biggest fan of that at the time. The backstory of that, when I voted for John McCain, in large part because of his military history, my grandfather served 20 years in the United States Army. So I've always had, a great love and admiration for, folks who serve and of course, our country all together. I went home and I told them, hey, I voted for John McCain. And what my grandmother replied to me was, you must think that you're white. And, obviously I was a 7 or 8 year old boy at the time. I had no idea what identity politics was, or this farce of an idea that the color of my skin should dictate my politics. But, quickly thereafter, I would learn that was a prevailing idea in the Black community. It was a prevailing idea among white liberals who believe that Black people should just aimlessly support their progressive ideals, which are actually not at all progressive and incredibly regressive to the Black community. And so it has been an incredible fight. I think that our work is getting more and more important with every passing day. I think the left is absolutely unashamed and very outspoken about what their plans for this country are. They want to rip us away from our founding ideals and values. They want to reorient our country towards government and not God. And I will not sit idly by and let that happen. Ronald Reagan once said that freedom is just one generation away from extinction. And Jeff, I refuse to allow it to be my generation. But also, too, when I think about, and another reason I got into this race for the special election here is because who stands the most to lose if we don't right this ship as a country? Who stands the most to lose if I don't right this ship that's happening, and the problems that are happening here in our state? My generation. And so I think it's time for us to raise our voices, go to the front lines, and fight for this state that we're going to inherit one day.
CJ Pearson, 21 years old, running for State House in Georgia. He's on to thank us for the start of the new show. He's been a great friend, not only to KNUS and Salem, but to the Western Conservative Summit as well. Give him a follow at the CJ Pearson, Pearson, the CJ Pearson on Twitter, and be a part of the movement he's building with young people to fight back and secure the principles that made this country great. CJ, thanks so much for being on the program, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Bill. Congratulations again.
Thank you. That was fun.
That was really fun.
See, just calling in to thank us and congratulate us. He is a really talented young man. All right, so we'll go to Joan here in just a second. What we're talking about prior to the call with CJ was that Trump revealed his VP shortlist, including DeSantis, Scott, Ramaswamy, Noem, Donalds, and Gabbard. Who is your pick? The conversations are happening right now within the Trump campaign. The time to get frustrated or angry about the pick is not after the fact. You're not going to change that. It's up in the air right now. So if you want to have a voice in this, you better share it. We'll give you a radio station to share it on right now. You can tell Old City of Denver, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let's go with Joan in Lakewood. Joan, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Well, I have one thing to say before I start this conversation. Liz Cheney could not win in Wyoming. What makes them think she can win anywhere else?
Yeah.
And I don't think the industrial military complex has enough money to put her
Joan,
in place.
let me explore that with you just for a second. And the argument for Liz is not to get the hardcore Republicans to vote for Trump, because they're there. You need the people that aren't under that umbrella. Is Liz Cheney at least enough of an outside voice that she could persuade the people that didn't vote for Trump last time? Because remember, now while he did win against Hillary, he's lost the popular vote twice. So the vast majority of Americans did not flip the button for him. We can talk about Electoral College and everything else, but is Liz Cheney possibly a persuadable influence for independents?
No.
Why?
Because she's just toxic.
To whom?
Nobody likes her.
I think that's on the GOP. To be fair, sorry to interrupt. To be fair, that's on the GOP.
Burden of her father.
But Joan, to be fair, that's the GOP doesn't like her. I'm talking about the outside.
No,
She's actually they're Democrats that have given her. I've seen her.
Either.
I've seen her on liberal outlets, and they've given her very friendly interviews.
Her father. I don't
yeah, but
know
he's not
of an
running.
Independent anywhere that has ever said they like Liz Cheney.
You may want to have that conversation again over the last 6 months. To be fair, now go ahead. Who do you think the VP should be?
Bill, why do you think people do like her? Because she went after Trump, right?
No.
They don't like her for any other reason. Then she went after Trump.
Well, see, here's the thing is, you've come to a conclusion in the statement. Your statement is that because she went after Trump, the perception that is being portrayed that I've seen as far as on the liberal side of things is that she was the one person, one of the people that decided to stand up and say, no, this wasn't correct. What happened and the functionality was wrong. And part of that credibility, to be fair, part of the credibility is this. When they were putting together the January 6th committee, that basically was it McCarthy or who was in charge? Said,
it was McCarthy.
Said no.
Here are my guys. Here are my guys.
Yep.
And Pelosi was like, no.
And Pelosi said, nope, I'm not going to take them. I'm not going to do them. Partly the objection to Jim Jordan is because he could be implicated as a witness. He can't be on the committee if he's also going to be part of the charges or part of the witnesses and part of the conversation. He can't do that. McCarthy said, nah, don't care. And the Republicans voted to not participate.
Yeah.
So then
right decision.
After that, you don't get to complain about the makeup of the group because you've
Sure
decided
you
not
do.
to
Why
participate.
not?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
You can complain about the whole process. The whole process was stupid.
But you have no validity in your complaint because when you were asked to participate in the process, you said no. So you don't get to participate in the process. And here would be the idea. You ask your wife comes to you and is like, hey, I want to remodel the house. We need to remodel this. We remodel this. And you're like, no, we're not doing anything. And she goes off and makes plans and said, we're going to do this.
Right.
You can't complain about the plans. You've already said no. You've taken yourself out of the decision. So that what Liz did is say, even though the rest of the people that I align with said no, I'm going to participate in this. I'm just telling you how it's portrayed on the other side. You can disagree based on being a Republican, but I'm telling you that's how it's viewed on the other side. She's viewed as a Republican that stood up when nobody else would. That is going to have traction, in my opinion. Is it going to make a difference? Not sure, but it absolutely has traction.
Absolutely do not like Liz Cheney, period.
I don't have to. Again, but I would guess that
I'm reading a text message. No one likes Liz Cheney on either side.
I disagree.
All right, Joan, here's a good question. Here's a really good question. 4944. Would you still vote for Trump if he picked Liz?
Ooh. Oh, that's good.
Well, that's interesting. He'll never pick Liz. I mean, seriously. She was there after him on
But would you? Yeah, let's
No.
just say random.
No.
You would not.
Really?
You would not vote for
No,
Trump if he picked
I
Liz
don't
Cheney.
know.
Wow.
That's maybe Bill's dream. No,
I'm shocked. No, I'm just shocked. I'm just shocked that that would be it. That would be a deal breaker.
5551. Liz Cheney is a patriot. Speaking of bizarre rabbit holes, because I don't think Donald Trump is going to pick Liz Cheney. It's an interesting thought exercise. And Liz, thanks so much for the call. And feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. So Bill and I, speaking of vice presidents, have gone.
Before we move on, I want to get Joan's picks, who she would be, because she called in to say vice
Well,
P.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to do that
Please.
before we say goodbye.
So I had texted in Ben Carson, and then somebody said about Stefanik. And I sat there and I thought, Stefanik is really appealing to me for a lot of different reasons. But I don't think he would pick her just because she's from New York.
Oh, now why New York? What do you think is there?
Yeah. She's gonna send a message.
Because
Yeah,
everything that's
why
happening?
you don't? Yeah, you know, he wants nothing to do with that state.
Interesting. Now,
But Ben Carson was part of the administration with Trump. He was the secretary of HUD, and he did a really good job of cleaning up some of the corruption. He is smart. He's loyal. He's measured, which I think would be a nice contrast to Trump, because I love Trump. I think he's a great person and a wonderful president, but sometimes he's not as measured as he could be. And I think that Ben Carson has a compelling story behind how he's gotten where he's gotten. And I did meet him at the Western Conservancy.
Yeah,
and
he's won our straw poll like 4 years. I think probably more than anybody else. The presidential straw poll is Ben Carson.
Yeah, and his faith, he has this my faith votes, and people don't quite understand it, because I think it's just so. I don't meet many Christians that stand up in the grocery store and yell, "I'm for Trump," But there is, I think, a group. I worked with Harris down in Colorado Springs in 2016, and I think that there is. I just think he's really a good person, and we know him.
Joan with the Ben Carson pick. Thanks so much, Joan. Appreciate it. Yesterday, during a conversation in South Carolina, Donald Trump kind of hinted at who's on his VP shortlist, and we wanted to hear from you, because now is the time to make your voice heard. DeSantis, Scott, Ramaswamy, Noam, Donalds, Gabbard. Who would you like to see in that spot? And a lot of text messages coming in. We went down kind of an interesting thought exercise as to whether or not Liz Cheney would change things for people.
I am fascinated by that, because she, again, just like DeSantis, if you would create the perfect female Republican candidate in the lab up until the January 6th committee, she's it. She clicks all the boxes.
She was, pretty popular.
She
up
does
until January 6th.
She does everything,
up until Trump.
And that's what I think is interesting. That this one point, she did this one thing, and now that she's persona non grata. All the rest of it.
Stab your president in the back. You're gonna get
Here's the thing. I disagree that it's stabbing the president in the back. Fundamentally, I don't think it was in any way, shape, or form. And I find it interesting that that's the filter. That's the idea, that because she did this, that she's attacking our president. That it's not a question of.
Well,
did he do it?
I think the voters of Wyoming settled that for the Republicans.
Oh, they can choose whoever they want. They can vote whoever they want.
Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can help improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But I want to talk to you about your love drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, low love drive can be a real problem. There is good news. Go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com and take the low T quiz on their website. It's a simple 10-question quiz with yes or no answers. It only takes 2 minutes. Then schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. A Colorado licensed medical provider will review your results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment is only $99, which includes medical consult, and PSA test. If you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Call them today at 720-440-7900 or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's 720-440-7900 or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We'll get to your text messages and calls. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Good song. No way. Oh, wow. I'm jealous. Wow. This is amazing. Jeff's telling me this big story and the thing, and I'm so jealous. The connection that he knows. Ryan Tedder here, One Republic.
Ryan Tedder,
yeah, they're coming
right.
in to open up the new amphitheater in Colorado Springs, doing a 2-night show there.
I saw that.
Special. Yeah.
Yeah. So I met him I met Ryan. He led worship one time at Greenwood Community Church right off of Bellevue there.
Wow.
Because his fiance or maybe wife at the time grew up right there. She was a Cherry Creek High School girl. But he's got some good Colorado roots. Ryan Tedder does. And a strong faith. He's got a real strong
He's
faith.
one of the guys that I have not been able to cross paths with and meet. Of all the people that I've been able to. He's one of those because I love his creativity. One Republic's great, but I really value his songwriting skills and the songwriting that he's done for other artists. Stuff that he's just puts him over the top.
So that's where he started.
So talented.
Well, actually, he started in churches. He led worship in churches, but then he realized you could make a lot of money writing commercial jingles. Like a lot. Like if Fox or if like Ford picks up your commercial jingle, you can make a lot of money off of it. So he started just writing super consumable little music clips.
Yeah.
Right. And then he started competing in these songwriting contests for like Beyonce and I think Taylor Swift and stuff like that, and wrote songs for them.
There are a couple of bands like
and
that.
And then he went his way, but he started writing for other people and then, made his way.
I think Passenger went that way too. He started out with doing jingles and then went into, I think that's where, but yeah, he's super talented. He's so, it's amazing. And then also such a good guy. Every time that I see any interaction with him, anything about him, just totally stand-up guy, which again, I've dealt with a lot of other people in this industry.
All right, so we got to rely on you and your music connections to bring them in.
We will try.
We'll see.
I'm gonna have to ask. Yeah,
we talk about faith and
that would be wonderful.
Entertainment and stuff like that.
And this Colorado, he might just give us the shine. So we'll see.
Blake, what are you working on news-wise for us?
You know what? You know who the biggest jingle writer was? I think, or one of them, or performer. Barry Manilow.
Yes.
Really? I didn't know that.
He wrote and performed so many, right, Billy?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hundreds.
And even TV theme songs, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff's too young, but there are some from the 70s, and you're like, wow, Barry Manilow did that one?
Jeff's way too young. Like, if we started talking about Andy Gibbons shadow dancing, he would just totally he would lose it.
That's right. You're with a couple old guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's see. We're working on Ron DeSantis. He says he's not interested in running for VP. Nikki Haley, Jeff and Bill, she's going to be here February 27th. Right. It's free. It's free. That should be exciting. Biden says that the real racists that he worked with, a long time ago in Congress, possibly himself, they weren't as bad as today's Republicans. So he's throwing out
when do you think that finally dies of just claiming your political opponent's a racist and people are just like, whatever, man, like there's so much crime, like just defaulting to generalities when it comes to political campaigns with no real specifics. Like, I understand if you actually ran against like Robert Byrd, an actual racist that was in the Democrat Party, but
I have a theory. I have a theory on
like,
that.
Outright racists.
My theory on that is that is used for low information voters.
Yeah.
Yes. It is used. Yeah. It is used just as a broad generalization. If I can splash that paint on you, hopefully some of it sticks. I think it's just done that way. Yeah.
As long as they want to be in power, the left, they're going to use it for as long as they can. And you just now you're at a point where you have to push back on it. You have to. Thousands of people affected by cell phone outages today across the country. Most AT&T users. I don't know if that happened to us this morning, Billy. I don't think that had.
Is this an EMP attack?
I have no idea. They just say
Twitter seems to be thinking it is.
Is that right?
Yeah, and the one thing that we've learned is that Twitter is absolutely
right. I love it when people have no knowledge and just throw stuff out there. Like I just did. Right.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah. Why not? Hey, you know what? I have to chime in here. It doesn't matter what you think about Glenn Beck or whatever, but I heard him maybe 3 weeks ago, a month ago on Patrick Bet David, and he said he had a meeting with Trump. Trump had already decided on the VP, and he's all ready to go. He knows who it is. And Glenn Beck said that it is not an identity politics pick.
Good.
Now, that doesn't mean it may not be a woman or someone of quote unquote color. But that was interesting to me, and I couldn't find it after that. I mean, it was almost like Beck had spoken out of order, or he heard from someone at the time. But I mean, who knows with the VP pick? But we'll talk about that coming up at the top of the hour.
So we ended up going down. Thanks, Blake. I appreciate that. So I staffed Ryan on a few of his visits out here to Colorado as well. Remember when Paul Ryan was the pick?
Oh, geez.
For Romney. But we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on Dan Quayle. Go visit his website. It has not been updated in 20 years. You want to take a time travel back to what websites look like in the late 90s? Go visit Dan Quayle.
Wow.
He's just kind of faded in to obscurity. I think he served on a few boards and things like that, but he's down in Arizona these days. But I think the pick matters. I really do. I think it helped. I think Trump's pick of Mike Pence was brilliant in 2016 because evangelicals were primarily concerned how committed was Donald Trump to social issues. Right, because he'd kind of flip-flop on abortion. He wasn't really that strong on traditional marriage, obviously. In
wasn't Corinthians 2 was kind of the
right.
big thing there.
Yeah, 2 Corinthians.
And not being able to name his favorite book in the Bible. Right. Little stumbles there. When he goes onto what is a religious-focused conversation and podcast, that's going to be one of the questions.
I mean, no evangelical was like, this guy is it's Billy Graham.
Yeah.
Nobody was looking at that. So you needed a pick to kind of settle some of those concerns. So I thought Mike Pence was a great pick. We have a number of text messages around that. They think that Ben Carson would be a good pick in that same way, right?
Yeah,
so
that is interesting.
Ben is solid. He's solid in his faith. He is a great husband, committed to his wife, to his family. He's an easy, steady guy.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing I've got, and I've been going back and forth with some of the texters, and I'd love to have someone on the phone line, 303-693-1971, to discuss this. Does Ben Carson move the ball forward for Trump? All these VP picks, because remember, if Ben Carson is a second version of Mike Pence, last time around, Trump and Pence lost.
Right.
And I just had a conversation with someone on the text line, and the part that I'm unconvinced that given 2020, Trump is now a better candidate. So that VP to me makes a lot more sense and has more traction than I think it does normally, because this is a very odd election, because functionally we're running with 2 incumbents. You have the and they should have all of the incumbency granted and gifted to them. So it's a really interesting balance between the 2 of them. And I'm trying to figure out, what does Trump do to persuade those voters that didn't vote for him last time?
Yeah.
That I think is a really interesting question.
The rematch. It's like a Rockies movie.
Oh, it really is. It really is.
So then we went down this thought experiment. He went and picked Liz Cheney. Would you stop voting for Trump, or would you all of a sudden go, well, maybe I can now vote for Trump? Good morning, fellas from Nebraska. Liz Cheney isn't popular. Women don't like her, and women don't like Michelle Obama either. I know, because I was born with a uterus.
But didn't Liz? But Liz was popular with women before January 6th. I mean, she didn't win Wyoming because she only got guys voting for her.
No.
So I disagree with the premise there, and I think that there is that earthquake at January 6th that all of a sudden everybody's like, she's a fantastic Republican. She needs to get the hell out of here.
Should Trump pick Dan Quayle?
That is wonderful. He can do the Dick Nixon thing. I'm rested. I'm ready.
Yeah, right. What have you been doing for 20 years?
Yeah.
Not updating my website.
Yes.
I wish Republican candidate was not Trump, but since he is that, who I'm going to vote for, I just know I'm better off financially under Trump than I was under Biden. The country's even more divided. I think that's truth. This person speaks for all women. I think a critique of the idea that, of our friend from Nebraska says she can speak for most women. So, listen, in Colorado, this is going to be important. In Colorado, women will decide who the presidential candidate is, or actually who the president is. So That they're the ones, college educated suburban women are the big swing deciding vote in the state of Colorado. In the last 10 years, I've watched that group of voters become incredibly progressive and anti-Trump. So I'd love to hear from you. If you are a college educated suburban woman, feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS line, simply because purely just demographically, you tend to choose who is going to be the winner in the state of Colorado. It's not that I don't want to hear from other people, but you tend to be the big ones that change the state, and you've made it more progressive. So who do you think Trump should pick as his vice president? And then going back to your point, we've got this rematch again. So what does Donald Trump do differently this time around to reach and appeal voters? We'll get to this story coming up here in a second. Most voters say Biden and Trump both mentally unfit for a second term. This was a Quinnipiac University poll published today, or actually yesterday, Wednesday. But Biden leads the, quote, mentally unfit category by 13 points over Donald Trump. So 64% of respondents in the poll said Biden was mentally unfit for another term, a bleak data point for the president in a survey where nonetheless he nonetheless outperformed his top line numbers in many other polls. 51% of voters said to the pollster they didn't think Trump was mentally fit.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem and a weakness, because I understand the pointing out of Biden's mental frailties, but
it's not like you got a young 40-year-old there
and that to me is the problem. And I agree with the argument that Biden's too old, but the problem with making the argument is the other choice is only 77. So it's really difficult to say this guy's too old, but look at this. It's so hard to make that argument functionally.
Well, we all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and to overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show that 50% of people using UltraCur find relief within 48 hours, and half of those within 2 hours. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach. They're not available. Ask for the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. UltraCur gives you unique control over your daily wellness. It's gentle on your stomach, and it's a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to Natural Grocers. Grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial with no strings attached. Wondering about the research? Get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. Let's go to Mary. Line 1 in Wyoming. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Hey, morning.
Hey, good morning. I think what they're doing right now is vetting folks.
Yeah.
And my concern is I bet you there's some real hinky stuff with some of these people that are applying. A good example, isn't it interesting that even during this primary, Scott went and got married? Or no, he came up with a girlfriend. And now, Yeah, I don't think it'd go over real well with religious things if there's something on the down low.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's married. He just recently got married. And that was when he's been on the trail with so I just think that there's some that just maybe cannot pass the vetting process, and yet they would be a good. I would go with Lake. But again,
interesting. Why Carrie Lake?
I like her her feistiness. She's great on she was, I think, a very good candidate on the trail. I think that if something happened, she would be a good president. She could step into the shoes.
She would be a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Mary. And I think there's a lot of appeal to that right now in the conservative movement. That's why Donald Trump is the nominee over people like Ron DeSantis and Tim Scott and others, is because they want Republicans want the most vicious fighter to go in and clean up Washington, D.C. So Carrie Lakewood made a good one there. Mary, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Mary from Wyoming. Her line is open 303-696-1971. We're taking your calls about the VP pick for Donald Trump. He hasn't announced it yet, but he's got a list. So we'd like to hear from you. Give us a call. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. President Joe Biden has signed an executive order to increase cybersecurity at America's ports. It comes in response to fears of hackers gaining access to vital infrastructure in the U.S. that is Chinese-made. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
The Biden administration is making it clear it's time to get tough on cybersecurity at the US's ports, the country's main point of entry for trade. This executive order, along with $20 billion in investment, is aimed at making the US less vulnerable to cyber attack or surveillance from China. That, considering 80% of ship-to-shore cranes at US ports are manufactured in China and use Chinese software, leading to concerns the Chinese government could use them for surveillance.
The European Union has agreed to a new round of sanctions in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. For the first time, the bloc is also targeting companies in China, Hong Kong, India and elsewhere, which it says are facilitating Russia's war effort. The new sanctions also target 200 individuals in Russia linked to the aggression, bringing that total number of sanctioned Russians close to 2,000. Officials here say the new measures will be implemented to coincide with the 2-year anniversary on Friday of Russia's brutal full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
All right. I think we've just broken a record for the amount of text messages. I mean, they are filling up.
Yeah. We're trying as hard as we can to respond as quickly as
Carrie
possible.
Lake is too bombastic for suburban college-educated women. That's a fair critique.
Yeah, Jeff and I are just so busy. My fingies are hurting because we're texting so much.
Tulsi would be interesting, but could appeal to indies like me. Very important.
Yeah.
We absolutely need independence in this. I like Lake, but she is Trump in heels, and 2 Trumps in one room will leave no oxygen. Fair critique. Let's get to Jim, line 2 in Denver. You're on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Hey, first time caller. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, thanks for calling, man.
I like Tulsi. I've been watching her for about 3 years, listening to her and the way and then she crossed over, but she's number 1 on my list. And I've expressed that to the president. I wrote him a letter about it, in fact, as well. But she's highly intelligent, and her position on what she would like to see taught in schools is fantastic.
Ooh, that's good, Jim. Now I got a question for you. Were you a Trump voter in either of the previous 2 elections? Just out of curiosity. It doesn't matter, but it just depends on the next question that I ask.
Absolutely, I was.
Okay. Now, do you think
speaks to us?
Okay. Do you think that she is a stronger pick than Mike Pence? And I've got one more follow-up after that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
She's highly intelligent. Cool. She's a veteran. And she's just, man, if you listen to her, if people would just listen to her.
I would agree with you. I think she's stronger.
She's actually not a veteran. She's still active in the reserves.
Wow. Yeah, I would agree.
She's serving actively.
So,
okay, final question, Jim. Talk to me about persuadability. What do you think she brings to the ticket as far as persuading the people that are Republicans that either didn't vote for Trump last time or the persuadable unaffiliateds that you absolutely need, regardless of party affiliation, in order to win? If you only get the Dems to vote for you, or only get the Republicans to vote for you, you can't win. Talk to me about persuadability. Where do you see her working that? How does that work out?
Well, her positions on schools, what is to be taught. I mean, a strong position there, but she just, I mean, you listen to her.
Yeah.
You listen to her, and she's so highly educated, and she's got the experience. And
she doesn't sound like a politician, does she? A lot of times.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
She speaks to me like Trump does. She talks about the issues, and she challenges those things strongly and appropriately and assertively.
So
I'm highly impressed with that woman.
Jim, I'll give you a little insight into Tulsi. We've had her for 2 Western conservative summits. There's a lot of speakers that will come in and they do the speech and they leave. They don't talk to anybody. They don't hang out with anybody. They're just kind of there and then they're out. Tulsi, both times she came, spent the entire weekend with us, would go and hang out with the kids. So the high school and young college age kids, give them a whole separate speech. Spend time just hanging out in the room with them. Go meet with our donors. Go meet with the VIPs, all that stuff. And then after her speech, she'd go down to the exhibit hall and just talk with people. She really likes people, a little different than maybe a Ron DeSantis, who's more policy-oriented. She's good with people. She's a true stateswoman, which I've come to appreciate. Jim, really appreciate the call from Denver. Gina, we'll get to you in just a second. Text messages like, I'd like to see a strong female VP for change. In the game of identity politics, women have all been but ignored and passed over.
That would be an interesting quandary for the Democrats, because that's in part why they ran Hillary. She was next up and she was going to be our first female pres.
Gonna break that glass ceiling.
Yes. And so now that's a quandary for everybody that got behind Hillary. Same questions.
There you go. So discussing Trump's VP picks. Gina, we'll get to you. All these text messages, we appreciate your opinions. Now is the time to share them with us. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Oh, so glad to hear that. Yes, I'm about to get cup number 3. Those people that are my coffee aficionados know that's the best cup of the morning.
Brother, you were like born like with so much energy in the
Yes, I
morning.
was.
And then you add coffee on top of it.
I know.
And it's like I work with a little hamster sometimes.
It is.
I'm bouncing back and forth.
It really is. I'm so sorry. I appreciate you dealing with me, my friend.
Oh, my goodness. So we're talking Trump's VP pick, and phone lines are almost full. We've got one open for you if you want to give us a call, 303-696-1971. Carrie Lake for president 2028. First woman president should be Carrie Lake. Eat that, Hillary. Another text message. Tulsi is not a Republican. She's a populist, and some of her views might be too liberal. That said, I really like her. Thank you, 0359. College-educated woman here in Colorado. I spent 30 years in the education world. Trump is not my first choice, but I'm a hard no for Biden. How about Candace Owens for VP? Bill responded in the text message, do you think Candace would appeal to unaffiliates? That's a tough question. She is intelligent and well-spoken and fights with facts. I do think she would appeal to younger voters. Thank you, 3258.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Gabby, I don't think she loses independent voters. If she doesn't affiliate, she could lose Republican voters. Will independent voters participate in a Trump-Biden election, or will they be fed up and participate? Lots of text messages. So let us know. Gina, we're going to get to you in just a second. Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff. 35, mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the low 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that he is looking at other options and doesn't want to be former President Trump's running mate, the VP candidate. Trump said DeSantis, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, Vivek Ramaswamy, Kristi Noem are on the list, or could it be Tulsi Gabbard? GOP candidate Nikki Haley will make a campaign stop in Denver February 27th at 1:30 at Wings over the Rockies. She's still in it. President Biden says the real racists that he worked with a long time ago in Congress aren't as bad as the Republicans today. No reports on who told him to say that. He also talked about student loan forgiveness, even though some came away confused in San Francisco.
And I thought I'd make a lot more sense to relieve student debt for families and it would grow our economy. Well, there were existing programs in the law to fix and adjust the programs. We had to change them to make people actually make them available.
Okay, I'm clear now. Thousands of people affected by cell phone outages today across the country, mostly AT&T users. Denver police looking into the damage of the MLK monument at Denver City Park. Plaques and decorations have been removed from the monument. CJ Pearson, a young conservative speaker running for state rep in Georgia, on the Jeff and Bill show this morning, and says he wants to help clean up places like Georgia after watching the Fonnie Willis performance last week.
Even if you don't have a problem with our politically motivated persecution of President Trump, why not an issue with her misuse of government funds to fund an affair with a married man? If Fannie Willis wanted to be someone's sugar mama, that is her prerogative. But to use taxpayer dollars to do it, that's reprehensible and it's illegal, and we should, go after the problem there.
Also in Georgia, Rudy Giuliani is appealing a ruling ordering him to pay almost $150 million in a defamation case. The attorney was ordered to pay up at the end of the year last year in what they say was a lie about election workers in Fulton County. All right, the Avalanche going for 3 straight tonight at the Red Wings. The Nuggets back in action for the first time since the All-Star break against the Wizards in Lodo. And number 24, CSU upset by New Mexico last night, 68-66. It's 30 in Boulder, 33 in Littleton, 35 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue in the 8 o'clock hour. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, Donald Trump is slightly hinting as to who his vice presidents are, and we've been taking your calls all morning as to who it should be, because now is the time to have that conversation. Once the decision's made, once it's announced, well, then it's off to a general election battle. But Gina, you're in Aurora on line one with the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning. I just wanted to call in and say, first I should preface it and say that I was actually born and raised in inner city Denver and went through DPS my entire, first through 12th grade. But I now live in the suburbs, and I'm a recent college graduate, and I'm a grandmother. So that kind of tells you maybe
Congratulations.
my age.
That's not easy. I will tell you, one of the great things I get to do at CCU is sit on the stage as people get their degrees. There's just a different level when you have gotten that degree later in life, and you've had to sacrifice to make that happen, is different than being 22. So congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. But I just wanted to say that I am all in for Tulsi, and I am going to vote for Trump. I voted for him twice before, but I also voted for Barack Obama. And in my first time I ever voted, it was for Pat Schroeder. So
wow, you've been a journey person through this.
Yeah. But Tulsi, I think I'm registered independent. I was Republican for many years, but I changed. And Tulsi, to me, she has a great education message. She's all in for women, keeping men out of women's sports. I'm pro-choice. I will admit that, to a certain level. I'm just not this diehard, like 9 months, they can still, there's got to be a limit, but I do believe in pro-choice. And I think Gabby kind of has those same beliefs. So I think she would totally appeal to an independent, suburban, educated mom.
The reason I love Gina's call is because she actually reflects, I think, a lot of the voters in Douglas County, Arapahoe County, Jefferson County. Go ahead,
Gina,
Bill.
Got a question for you, Gina. You said you were an Obama voter. Did you vote for Trump either of the two times in the election, just out of curiosity? And you do not have to tell us. If you don't want to, you can say yes. You can decline that answer because we can go on from there and I can continue with the question. But I'm just curious.
Oh, no, I did vote for Trump twice.
Okay.
I didn't vote for Obama. I think I didn't vote at all when Obama ran against McCain. And I did vote for him when he voted for Mitt Romney. But when he ran against Mitt Romney, my reasonings were probably maybe seem a little bizarre why I did that. To me, it's like the devil you know, the devil you don't. And I don't think I could vote for a Mormon. I'm sorry.
Oh, interesting. That's okay. And again, you're free to do with your vote what you want. Now, I want to explore the Trump-Hillary dynamic, especially given your affinity for Tulsi. In some ways, doesn't Hillary check the same boxes that Tulsi does? Not necessarily politically, but the same things you ticked off. So why did you choose Trump instead of Hillary?
I think, they do. They are similar. I don't know. Hillary just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. The whole thing with, these people dying that were affiliated with them. And I don't know. She just doesn't seem like a girl's girl.
I think that's a fair critique. I think she left a bad taste in Bill's mouth as well. So, it's probably a shared sentiment.
Yeah, it is. I think it was an awful choice. I think Hillary, they were asking to get punched in the mush with that one. Like she was so disliked that that was really awful. That's an interesting point.
Well, Gina, I really appreciate the call. And I would like to hear from people more like Gina. Obviously, we have our differences in policy and things like that, but Gina brings what I think is a perspective that's pretty common in Colorado, that kind of independent, female, college-educated perspective, which has a big sway on our elections here in the state. So feel free to call in 303-696-1971. Carol, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Carol.
Morning.
Well, I tell you what, a couple of years ago, I heard somebody say, well, in this campaign, it's going to be important to go after the white, suburban, college-educated mother. I believe they even included mother.
Yeah.
And I resented that because I thought, what do they think? Do they think we all vote alike? I have 3 sisters. We're raised in the same demographics. We do not vote alike.
Yeah.
But I also wondered, what do they think? Do we go into Starbucks and we don't come out until we have a consensus?
Good line. That was good.
That was a good one.
I think the same point is that people often do that with, we had a conversation earlier about would someone like a Ben Carson bring in the, quote, black vote? I think they divide that based on looking for those demographics they're trying to reach. But I understand your point about identity politics, because what I think was very intelligent about what you said is, as long as we keep talking about trying to identify these differentiating segments, especially based on race and or sex, it then creates the impression of more of a divide, because we only need to talk to this group. The rest of the groups aren't as important.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I think it takes away from the thought that we make up our minds individually.
Good point.
Right. And I'm not a young college graduate. I'm retired. I'm old. I'm Social Security age and all, whatever. But my dad taught me how to think.
No, Carol, I think what happens within a presidential campaign, because I was a coalitions director for a presidential campaign. So let's start with different stages in life, right? So like a college student is going to have different concerns as a voter than a mother is going to have. So candidates try to go out and to appeal to those issues. What does a college student care about? Student debt, job opportunities, those types of things. What does a mom care about, or a dad that's 40, 45 years old? Well, a little bit different things. So candidates try to appeal to those different issues, but then there's just strong cultural factors. So inner city black voters are going to have different concerns than white rural voters are when it comes to issues. And so campaigns are trying to showcase to those different groups that the issues that their candidate works on are going to be beneficial to them, and try to appeal to them. And that's just the way campaigns are. It's just the way America is. So I don't think it's necessarily to kind of group people. The point is not to just group people. The point is to try to find issues that are relevant to people at that time or stage or location, and make sure that you're communicating properly to them.
I had an eye-opening experience at Western Conservative Summit about 3 or 4 years ago. And it was in the exhibition hall, and I talked to Rocky Mountain Black conservatives.
Yeah.
And it was right around that time period. And I told him how I was offended by being lumped together in that identity politics. And he just looked at me square in the face and said, then you get it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and then appealing entirely to groups of people and believing that because they're part of that identity, they're going to vote a particular way. I don't think that's fair, but I don't think necessarily trying to appeal to groups because you want to try to showcase that you understand the issues they're facing is not necessarily a bad thing either. Carol, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Carol from Denver, her line's open 303-696-1971.
I like what you said there. I mean, functionality, you do have to target those demographic groups, because it makes no sense to go out there and say, we're just going to go talk to everybody. You absolutely have to bifurcate them and target them, because the message is absolutely different. But I also agree. I can see why Carol feels put upon, because she feels like you're not listening to me. You're just putting me in this group. Yeah. And you're saying, because I'm in this group, you're assuming I'm all going to do this. And I appreciate it, because like her, I'm an independent. I can understand that. And I feel a kinship with where she's coming from. But but you're absolutely right as far as how it is approached. And you have to, based on the campaign.
When Joe Biden goes, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
what the hell?
Come on.
Yeah. As he would say, come on,
man.
man.
Pure identity politics, and it's stupid and lame.
It's nice that they say it out loud like that so directly that you're like, oh, good. Thanks for voicing the stupid outside your head.
But when a candidate's like, yeah, I'm going to go to CU Boulder and we're going to talk about student loans. And when I go out to Kiowa, we're going to talk about ranching and water issues and land use issues. You go, well, they're just people just have different categories of life.
Yeah.
And they have different issues they care about.
Yeah, and
so
we've heard from callers, Joan, friend of the show, and an earlier caller today, talk about the idea how effective Trump is at communicating directly with his supporters and voters, that he understands what they are. And that's something he leans into and he's very good at. And that's a great example.
Yeah. All right. So we've been talking for a while about VP picks. I want to change just a little bit and get into this that happened yesterday. Comments made. Letitia James says she's prepared to seize Trump's buildings if he can't pay his $354 million civil fraud fine. Remember, this is civil. This is not criminal. 4 days after, this is from ABC News, 4 days after a judge ordered former President Donald Trump to pay $354 million in a civil fraud case, New York Attorney General Letitia James told ABC News that she is prepared to seize the former president's assets if he is unable to find the cash to cover the fine. Quote, if he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets, James said in an interview with ABC News. Trump was fined $354.8 million plus approximately $100 million in prejudgment interest on Friday after Judge Arthur determined that he inflated his net worth in order to get more favorable loan terms. The former president has denied all wrongdoing and said he will appeal, saying that she was, quote, very confident with the strength of her case on appeal. James reiterated that her office would not hesitate to seize Trump's assets, mentioning Trump's 40 Wall Street skyscraper by name if the former president is unable to find the cash to cover the court-ordered settlement. We are prepared to make sure that the judgment is paid to New Yorkers. And yes, I look at 40 Wall Street each and every day, James said, of the standard court process of collecting judgment in civil cases. Here's my question to you. Bill. Is this fair?
I would say, yeah.
Is this fair, or is this a political opponent literally taking the property of another political opponent and using law to do so?
Well, I would think that after a judgment, she's got the right. That would be the issue. It's just like the Rudy Giuliani case in Georgia. He has been found liable for defamation. He owes the money. The idea of complaining now that it's political, you got your time in court. You had your chance to present your case.
Do you think the case was fair? Do you think the judgment was fair? Do you think all this? Or, I mean, Letitia James said when she was running, she was going to go after Trump.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
this is like Putin-esque, Bill. This is like right Putin-esque.
Not even close.
Except for I'm just going to shade it in a court case. But meanwhile, I'm putting my opponents in jail and collecting their property.
Not even close to Putin. But the issue is the crux of this. And I had a really heated conversation with a really good friend that both you and I know yesterday after the show. Got really heated, not personal, but heated. And it was on my heart later in the day that I reached out and apologized to him and said, listen, that was too heated. I overstepped my bounds and I made it too confrontational. And it was precisely about this. And the issue for me is,
by the way, I'm glad you got that out of your system.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So it's better than this morning. I appreciate that. The issue for me is, if he didn't do the crime, we don't talk about this. That's the thing in this conversation that I'm missing is the fact that if he didn't do this, we have none of this. This crime was not invented. He did it. We have the books. We have the finances. We have his CFO saying, I kept two things of books.
I would give that credence if Letitia James was on a mission to prosecute every other commercial land developer in New York on this. I would absolutely grant you. I was like, they are running it by the book there in New York. And if you step out of line as a commercial developer, they are going to get you. And Donald Trump, you got busted. In this case, I don't know anybody else they're doing this to. She campaigned on the fact that she was going to go after Trump. She got him, and now she's like, give me your buildings.
Yeah, but if someone back in the day would have campaigned on going after Al Capone and then did, you wouldn't go, oh my God, what are they doing? You wouldn't complain about it. And the other part being, she can campaign on it, but he can also have done the crime. They're not mutually exclusive. And I understand it being political, but you got to come back to, if he didn't do the crime, he wouldn't have any issues. And that has to be the fundamental kernel where this conversation starts.
I think
it has to be in the crime.
I get that. But I so think you're caught in this like 90s mindset that like if somebody got prosecuted, obviously they did something wrong. And I think what has happened at this point in our judicial system, George talks about this, is it's become another avenue for politics. And so they'll find the person they don't like first, and then they dig and they dig and they dig and they try to find something wrong. And I'll even grant you this. Whitewater for Clinton was probably the same thing.
Yeah. And definitely should have been way prosecuted on that one. That was ridiculous.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. They were dirty as heck up to their neck.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was disgusting. Yeah.
I think we're at a point where you can't just rely on, well, he was convicted. Or in this case, it was a civil penalty decided by a judge. Ergo, clearly he did something wrong and he must be paid. Here's like 6176. We are a nation of laws. Trump found guilty, Trump pays. Brother, I just think that's like a generation ago. And I think the left has now found this avenue to just tap into that sentiment. Oh, obviously you broke the rules. Therefore, you must be made to pay. And what's actually happening is you're getting politically motivated prosecutors that aren't going after the bad guys. Like I said, it's not like they're around there really trying to clean up New York and commercial real estate issues. They're specifically targeting their political opponents and then leveraging these massive fines to make sure they can't win future elections.
Simple question.
Yes.
Did he do it?
Like I said, I think that's myopic thinking on this.
Well, that I know, but it is a yes. It is a yes or no question.
I think he probably, he probably did.
And we have hard proof. We have witnesses saying he did it.
Yeah.
We have his sons saying, my dad made all the decisions based on X, Y, and Z. And he signed off on all the paperwork, and we actually do have the 2 sets of books, just like in the movies, where he was keeping 2 different financial sets of books. And this is not the first time, but the second time that Trump Organization has been found liable for fraud. And this conversation, regardless of whether or not you say, oh my gosh, it's totally political. If Donald Trump didn't do the fraud, he can't get charged with anything. That's where this starts. So it is his behavior. And I find it ironic that the party of law and order goes, yeah, law and order, but except for this guy. Except for this guy that we want around the country.
Then we're not going to worry about law and order. We're not trying to dismiss the idea that he had a problem. No, not at all.
You just spent 5 minutes dismissing it.
No, but I can't. I don't think it's fair to just look at it from that angle and go, well, he broke the law, therefore we should make him pay, because I think that's what the left is counting on.
Is the law and order thing.
Meanwhile, they ignore all these other people doing similar things, BLM prosecutions, all that stuff, riot prosecutions. I mean, come on.
Every single defendant in either a civil case or in a criminal case makes the argument that you just made.
They're not.
Yes, they do. Go ask district attorneys, ask defending attorneys. Every single one of their clients in the defense comes in and says, you are prosecuting me because you're letting everybody else go. You're singling me out because of X, Y, and Z.
You don't think there's any political motivation in this prosecution?
Oh, I never
said
this
is purely we're following.
I never said that. No, I never said it wasn't politically motivated, but I'm telling you that every single defendant always said that you're singling me out, and because you didn't get all the people that were stealing cars that night, you can't hold me responsible. Because you didn't get the person that stole from liquor store last week, you can't hold me responsible.
New York City is a hellhole right now,
but the
and
argument,
they're devoting their times to their political opponents. And look, we got him on something. That makes it okay.
But the argument can't be that the perfect is the enemy of the good, that we can't prosecute. Because we can't prosecute every crime, we can't prosecute any. And that's the filter that we're running through here. The issue for me is, yes, it can be a politically motivated prosecution. There also can be a legitimate crime done. I'm not happy with the political motivation, but does it change the issue about the crime? It doesn't. And even if it is a politically motivated prosecution, if Donald Trump didn't do the crime, he doesn't have anything to worry about. That's the issue.
That is fair.
His
that
behavior.
Is a fair critique on
the only reason we are here is because of his behavior. If he hadn't been fraudulent for so many years, nothing would have happened. Letitia James could have screamed all she wanted about going to get Trump, and she's got nothing when she walks into court. The only reason she has anything is because he was doing the fraud. That's not okay.
I think, too, that to put this in that category of this was such bad fraud, it deserved a $355 million
oh, no, that's because he was
penalty.
An asshat. That's because he was an asshat. That was the reason.
Think that is it's this bizarre reading of the law where you allow this system to take place regularly within, commercial real estate development and banking. And yet somehow, because it's a political opponent, we're going to heavily prosecute. I'm going to go back to what the Wall Street Journal said. It's essentially dropping a hellfire missile on a shoplifter.
Well,
you go, now we're excusing shoplifting. We're excusing shoplifting. I think that's an unfair reading of the law. And and the fact that this was practiced regularly in cities all over the country as an arrangement between commercial real estate developers and bankers with safety mechanisms built in, right? So bankers can look at the property and do their due diligence. And if they don't, like Deutsche Bank didn't, and they went on this kind of personal guarantee from Trump, but then they felt like they made money, so nobody was angry. Deutsche Bank didn't bring this. The Attorney General of New York, motivated by political gain and attacking political opponents, stepped in to do this. I just, this kind of idea, well, he broke the law. Clearly he broke the law. We need to be penalized. And if he hadn't done this, he hadn't broken the law. It just isn't a fair assessment.
So you think that we should just remove the law? That everybody should be allowed to do this?
No.
But your argument a second.
You're jumping again to another extreme on this.
No, I am, because your example was this goes on all the time, everywhere across the country. And since it is so usual,
you have to consider.
You
have to consider it in the equation.
Yes, and that's why I'm asking you. Does that mean you want to erase the law? If your premise is that but hang on a sec. But your premise in that conversation point was because it happens everywhere, we can't hold anybody responsible unless we hold everybody responsible. That's what we come back to. And that's why I'm pointing out as an extreme. And it is an extreme. We can never prosecute anybody. And even if it is political, if he didn't do the crime, it wouldn't matter. He did the crime. That's functionally true. And being the party of law and order, you can't stand there and say, well, the law holds up for everybody except for him. Because they didn't prosecute everyone, we got to let him go.
But I think you're jumping to extremes on it. And I think you're going, well, he committed this crime. Clearly, look at the law. He broke it. We need to penalize him for it. And he needs to do it. And I'm like, part of the equation in my mind is that I don't know the fact that Letitia James is doing this to anybody else. If you brought me a case that Letitia James was committed to ridding this problem in New York City, I would go, okay, you know what? You probably shouldn't have done this, Trump. They set the standard for it. But when this happens in every city, in every country, in private transactions between commercial
no big deal.
developers and bankers, and they get off and no one's prosecuting them, come on. Give me a break. You got to be very clear as to what this is. This was, we don't like the person. Let's go find the crime he violated. And we're going to sick government resources in order to win political battles. That's what this is all about. All right, phone calls starting to come in. 303-696-1971. Is it fair for Letitia James to basically say, you lost, I'm taking your buildings? Some people are talking about how this is basically going to kill all the business in New York City. I don't disagree with you on that one.
So, and this is the idea, and I've heard that before, that this is obviously going to kill all the business in New York. So you're telling me that if in New York you cannot operate while doing the crimes, you can't do business. Really? That's the premise? Because if it's going to kill business.
Karen reminding us, so this was not a criminal case. This was a civil case.
Fair point.
No damages were alleged in the case against Trump. The lenders weren't harmed. This is pure political punishment.
Yeah, and I can drive drunk all the way to my house and be a block away and still get arrested.
I
didn't hurt anybody.
It's a civil crime.
I didn't hurt anybody. Nobody was harmed. Nobody's hurt.
Different. All right, let's go to Frank Evergreen, line 1. You're on the Jeff and Bill show. Good morning, Frank.
Hey there. This whole thing is absurd, the prosecution, but I will say to Billy's point, it is illegal to spit on the sidewalk and to drive a car with no shoes on in many large cities, many cities in America, many places in America. Nobody gets prosecuted until a black guy is walking on the street and he spits on the sidewalk, then he gets prosecuted. This is the same BS.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a clear-cut case on either side for me. Like, is Trump totally innocent in this? No, Trump's not totally innocent in this. Should he have followed the rules? And, what do we teach our business students? If you start to break the rules in certain places, eventually it's going to catch up with you.
If you follow the rules, he'd be out of business.
I mean,
and also
wait, explain that to me, Frank. Hang on a sec. If he followed the rules, he would be out of business. How? Because are you telling me the only way to do business in New York is crime?
He's living to a tighter standard than everybody else who's not following the rules.
Okay, so the only thing we can do, we have to be a criminal in New York. You have to be a criminal to do business in New York.
You have a mortgage that's higher than that's more, the capital end in your mortgage is more than what your tax statement is?
No, not at all. No, I am not underwater. I made the decision, and I'm not underwater in my home payments. No, I'm not.
I'm saying.
No, I know, but I'm not. You asked if I was. I know, but Frank, with respect, you asked if I was. I wasn't, and I still disagree with your premise that you can't do business in New York unless you're doing the crime. That's silly.
Everybody else is making money by not following that particular rule, which is absurd. He's not going to make as much money. He'll eventually be out of business.
So crime's the only way to do business. Okay, fair enough. You're pro-crime. I appreciate that. Yes, you just said that. Yeah, you said you were pro-crime. We got to move on. I appreciate it.
All right, Frank, I appreciate the call. Frank from Evergreen, line 1-303-696-1971. Phone lines are almost full. We got one line open. Give us a call about this. Letitia James, she's prepared to seize Trump's building if he can't pay his $354 million civil fine. We'll get to these calls and text messages. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Oh, Bill and I got into it again.
I know. And then hugged it out afterwards. I love this show.
Text messages are blowing up. Lines are full. We'll get to you in just a second. Blake, what are you working on?
Oh, let's see. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to talk a little Nikki Haley. She's still in it, in the race, and she says she's coming to Denver February 27th. So we'll talk about that. Police looking for vandals who damaged the MLK monument at City Park. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says that he is looking at other options, so don't expect him to be in the VP race. Cell phone outages across the country, evidently thousands of AT&T customers not able to use their phones. And we'll talk about the first Colorado Buc-ee's opening up next month. It's going to be fun to drop by there on your way to Fort Collins or Cheyenne or to Wyoming. Buc-ee's in northern Colorado. So great show, enjoying it, and keep on arguing.
Thank you, sir.
So thanks, Blake. All right, so the average person, depending on the website you read, but the average person breaks, a few federal laws each day, just because we have so many laws. Here, Bill, here's what frustrates me about the whole process. Do I think you should be honest in business? 100%. Would I teach my kids to be honest in business? 100%. Should you pay your taxes? 100%. Should you pay the least amount that's necessary for you not to break the law?
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yes.
All right. So you don't have to go overboard on this. What makes me frustrated about this is we are now in a place in our country where a prosecutor representing the judicial system raises their hand when they're running for office and says, my motivation is to go after Johnny.
Yeah.
I'm here to prosecute Johnny. What crimes did Johnny break? I don't know yet. I don't like Johnny. I'm going to take your campaign dollars to go after Johnny. Then I get elected and I get all of the government money and I build teams and I go after and find crimes that my political opponent violated. Now, should you have broken those? No, you shouldn't have broken those. But where we are with our judicial system, where prosecutors can do that, I think that's a bad day in America.
There are a couple of things. I understand where you're coming from. There are a couple of things I disagree on that example with. One being that Letitia James said, I don't know what he did. We had ideas of fraud and we had those things beforehand. And that's important because it is an issue if the candidate is saying, I don't care. You show me the man and I'll show you the crime, rather than this dude's a giant fraudster. I'm going to go get him. That is a different political statement. You also can say that if the DA or Attorney General stands up and says, I'm going to go after car thieves or drug addicts or drug imports or child trafficking. Right. Now, because they've said that segment, every one of those defendants is going to stand up and go, you were targeting me. It is unfair.
If Letitia James in her campaign said, I'm going to go after commercial developers that are not honest with banks and all that stuff, then I think this would be a different case. But she never did that. No, she didn't go after those groups.
I get it.
She said, that guy over there, I'm stopping him. I feel like he might be fraudulent. I don't really know. I need you to elect me so I have all these government resources to go target my political opponents.
You're expanding her message based on my understanding of it quite a bit. You're adding in a lot of assumptions that she's throwing in there because it makes your case better. And I get it. But the issue being that I haven't seen where she said, hey, I don't know what he's doing. I'm going to go get him. I would have to be shown that. I didn't see that. Everything that I've seen of her was because of the fraud. And yes, it is an open secret inside of New York that this happens a lot. Again, if he's not doing the fraud, though, it doesn't matter. She can scream and yell. And I also disagree with it being her political opponent because Letitia James is New York. Donald Trump didn't run for anything in New York.
Billy,
No, she's not running against him. No, she's not running against him. Here's the idea. If you think that it's political, then what we're saying is we shouldn't have someone that is appointed by the President's Department of Justice go after their major political opponent. And if that's true, that is why we need to drop the charges against Hunter Biden.
All right. Let us know what you think. 303-696-1971 or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let's get to Jonathan in just a second. Hey, sick and tired of achy joints, dread the idea of surgery. You need to call QC Kinetics today. Hey, it's Jeff Hunt. Listen, the state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas like steroids and surgery are no longer your only options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain from arthritis or injury. Don't let this pain keep you from living your best life. QC Kinetics advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. This is a revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief with no downtime. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility, reclaim your independence, walk and run and play and live without the danger and trauma of surgery and without harmful drugs. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. 303-900-8986. Jonathan Arvada, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
What's on your mind, Jonathan?
Oh, just Bill, so many points and so little time.
That's kind of how I roll. Sorry about that.
Jeff, you just brought up an issue that I called in about, which was selective prosecution. And I assume Bill, Jeff, you, me, your listeners, we all drive a car. We all follow the speed limit to a T, and so none of us ever get pulled over for speeding, especially Bill.
Yeah, no,
So Bill,
I've never lost my license ever. Never lost it ever.
I'm not asking about the license, talking about getting a ticket. If you've ever gone 70 on the interstate, you're pro crime. You're pro crime.
It's a good point. I understand the issue. I get it. But I disagree with what Frank's point was, because Frank is just saying that we just have to ignore it. I'm okay with the idea that even though at times I'm speeding, when I get pinched for it, yeah, I deserve it. Do I complain that all the rest of the people around me are speeding? No, that's part of the gamble. That's part of what happens. I don't complain, and I don't try to absolve myself of the responsibility because I was the only one picked up. That's the difference in this case.
But when you're pinched for it, you don't, like, to your point, your license is not suspended. You can get points. You can get non-moving violation. You can plead down.
Well, to be fair, Jonathan, you do not know me well enough. I might have accumulated enough points several times. So that's just being honest here, man, my friend. Okay, continue.
All right. Hey, to your last point,
Yeah.
you show me the man, I'll show you the crime. You know who that quote's from?
Oh, gosh, it's Russian, but I don't remember which one.
I believe it's Stalin.
I think you're right. I think you could be right on that one. I don't remember. Pete Boyles would know. He'd hit me in the back of the head for not knowing that one.
We don't want to go there. Gentlemen,
Yeah,
great job.
Nice. Thank you for helping out. You got that, Jonathan. That was the best. Thank you.
I appreciate it,
My
Jonathan.
friend, call
Thank
back,
you.
man.
Arvada, Jonathan's line's open, 303-696-1971. Brandon, Denver, you're on News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. At the end of the day, crime does not pay, period.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill's on point. Life is risky. Life is risky.
Yeah.
Being a human being, whether it's COVID or driving or anything, is risky. And if any human can get through their entire life pretty much like a saint, more power to them. But 8 billion people plus, it's not going to happen. So the thing is this: as far as Trump and everything that's going on, there's some market-driven behavior, free market stuff. I think Thomas Jefferson would look at this case and say, okay, we got things going on with builders and bankers, and okay, Trump's going to appeal. And if this were at the Supreme Court, I think they would factor that in. What's going on here? Now, it doesn't meet the criminal. It didn't meet the criminal criteria, so it's a civil situation. And when you look at it like that, that tells you right there, okay, there's where you get the political, driven things like that. So the fact is this, Trump's got to deal with this, and he'll go through the ropes and he'll deal with it. It's not the first civil case that someone's going to fight. But the political thing is a big deal. And, I think Letitia, I think she will pay a price as well, because here's a story. When Burr shot Alexander Hamilton, okay, Burr's political career pretty much ended. That was a civil situation. It wasn't a crime. They went out man to man, fire the guns. But the fact is this: people pay the price for the decisions they make civilly, socially, in the marketplace. And I think Trump's got to play that game. So does Letitia, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, that's
Brandon,
interesting.
I appreciate the call. Thank you,
That was
Brandon from
nice.
Denver.
Wow.
Good
That's a lot to think
perspective.
about, man.
303-696-1971. His is going to be available, or his line's open now. Before we get to Robert, imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leaves satisfied customers wherever they go, and their all 5-star reviews confirm it. Here's what some overjoyed customers say. Joyce and Brent listened to our needs, stayed on schedule, and found solutions to our specific problems. We're so happy with our kitchen that now we're planning to do our bathroom as well. The quality of the products are excellent. The quality of the labor installation is outstanding. The customer service is unsurpassed. I absolutely recommend Roll 'em Out Shelves. They are very good listeners, and they have great suggestions for cabinetry solutions. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll 'em Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimation today, 303-475-9601, or Roll 'em Out Shelves. Tell them Jeff sent you. RollEmOutShelves.com, 303-475-9601. Robert, we'll get to you in just a second. We're taking your calls and texts on this headline. Letitia James says she's prepared to seize Trump's buildings if he can pay his $354 million civil fraud fine. I still go back to that Babylon Bee headline. The fine's whatever it needs to be to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. We'll talk to you.
Line.
You're listening to Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. U.S. authorities have charged a suspected Japanese crime leader with conspiring to traffic nuclear materials from Myanmar that could have been used by Iran to build a nuclear bomb. Takeshi Ebisawa is currently being held in a Brooklyn jail and also facing drug and firearm charges. Patrick Falk reports.
Well, U.S. authorities have described it as chilling to imagine had Takeshi Ebisawa succeeded in his plans. He's accused of trying to sell uranium and weapons-grade plutonium, which he believed would be transferred to Iran to build a nuclear weapon, except the person he was trying to sell it to was an undercover drug enforcement agency officer. The samples are said to have originated from Myanmar, and he is separately accused of also trying to purchase a large quantity of military weapons on behalf of an unspecified Myanmar rebel group.
Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara, says voters would support the Republican National Committee paying for the former president's growing legal fees. While campaigning for her father-in-law, Lara Trump said she wasn't familiar with the organization's rules about paying the fees, but the idea would get broad support. Last week, the former president publicly called for the removal of the RNC's current leadership and suggested Lara Trump should serve as co-chair, even though he isn't the Republican nominee yet. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
That's a great intro.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that was coming.
That
That's
I didn't either.
fantastic.
I'd never heard that.
Oh, shout out Kelly
You are a
Michaels.
Happy meal.
That's wonderful.
Let's go to Robert, line 1 from Littleton. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, fellas. I got to tell you, that intro was hilarious, man. I got a good laugh out of that. For whatever it's worth, the quote, the "Show me the man, I'll show you the crime" is actually from a fellow named Lavrenti Beria, who was the head of the NKVD under Stalin.
Huh.
Probably doesn't mean much, but just historical accuracy.
Thank you. Appreciate
I
that.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Couple of points. One, and another caller already kind of touched on this. If Letitia James thought that she had such a great case against Donald Trump, why didn't she bring criminal charges?
Probably burden of proof. If I had to guess, burden of proof. If I had to guess.
And I think that's
a good
exactly
point.
the answer.
Yeah.
There's such a lower burden of proof in the civil court than there is in the criminal court that she thought she had a better chance at a win.
Yeah.
Another is, and I understand that the statute that she used does not require a victim. And so the argument that so many have posed of, well, there's no victim, why are you even prosecuting this, is kind of it's a red herring to a certain extent. But there is a certain truth to it when it comes to the fine part of it, because generally speaking, in a civil case, whether it's a car crash or corporate fraud or whatever else, a fine is determined when you figure, okay, what are the losses that the victim sustained, plus some kind of punitive fine to be added to that. Well, since there are no victims in this case, and they've admitted that there are no victims in this case, nobody lost money. How could they possibly have instituted this massive fine when there's no one to compensate for losses because nobody lost anything?
Bill, thoughts on that? I know Bill takes the side that, he wasn't repentant.
Yeah. The issue is, and the issue is because the judge outlined it. And basically he said, Trump's acting like an asshat. And the issue was that continually throughout the trial, he took shots at the court, took shots at the procedure, and then the independent monitor that was placed over the business during the process came back and said, I have no indication in any way, shape, or form that he would stop doing the fraud once he walks out of the court. This was punitive. How do you stop a billionaire from doing this again? 350 big ones.
Robert, appreciate the call. Up next, Penn Pfiffner on TABOR and the attacks happening at the state capitol. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning to you. It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, February 22nd. Hopefully your cell phone is working. I know Blake will get to that in a second. My family having the big conversation on the family chat as to whether or not their phones are working. I think you've survived whatever Chinese EMP attack came through in the middle
So
of
you
the
guys
night.
are having the conversation about whether or not the cell phones are working. Wouldn't that kind of be hard if someone's cell phone isn't working?
Right. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. How do you...
But I guess that's how you figure it out. The one person's not responding. There's the problem.
That's
I like how
right.
you think, sir.
Let's go to Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Bill. 40 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Nikki Haley, who's still in it, according to her campaign, says that she's coming to Denver February 27th at 1:30. The GOP candidates' rally will be at Wings over the Rockies. South Carolina primary is this weekend. Police looking for vandals who damaged the MLK monument at City Park in Denver. They removed plaques and decorations. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says that he's looking at other opportunities and not interested in running for VP. The short list includes Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, Vivek Ramaswamy, Kristi Noem, and also a lot of staunch Second Amendment supporters saying this morning they can't back Tulsi Gabbard, who's also been mentioned. Cell phone outages impacting thousands of people across the country. AT&T said some of its customers are experiencing interruptions and should use Wi-Fi until service is restored.
Is it something that could be hacking related? Is it something that could be weather related, satellite related? We don't know at the moment. We're trying to get more information. We reached out to all of the companies for comment. We have not heard back.
The first Buc-ee's opening up in Colorado, the Walmart of convenience stores next to the highway. Their grand opening next month in northern Colorado, I-25 and the Johnstown exit.
You go down the highway, you see this big old Buc-ee's logo, and it feels like it's an oasis. You know, families appreciate a clean facility. And, you know, we've added on to that. We've added some amazing food offerings. We have a cult following.
That's District Manager Michael Bowie. A 41-year-old hiker tumbled 60 feet to her death on Wednesday at Colorado National Monument in Mesa County. And a county in New York is banning transgender athletes from participating in girls' sports. Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman signed an executive order, which is thought to be the first in the nation. The Avs go for 3 straight tonight at the Red Wings. The Nuggets back in action against the Wizards in Lodo. College hoops, number 24, CSU upset by New Mexico last night, 68-66. 39 in Aurora, 38 in Centennial, 40 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. The 9 o'clock power hour is next. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right. Good morning. Jeff and Bill's show, 710 KNUS. We're going to get Penn Pfiffner on here in a bit. I think he might be caught in some of these outages. We do want to talk about what the Democrats are planning to do down at the state capitol with regards to TABOR. Denver Post reporting this earlier this week. Colorado Democrats are eyeing a large portion of the state's $1.8 billion plus surplus this year to provide child tax credits targeted to help lower income families, along with another slice devoted to helping people working in health and childcare fields. The proposals are costly policy moves that could put state lawmakers on a path for conflict with Governor Jared Polis, a fellow Democrat, over what to do with the surplus. Oh, and broader tax policy. You know, it's always one of the worst things when there's money lying around government officials.
Yeah, they always ask the question,
like,
how can we spend this as quickly as possible? Yes.
The legislators, including a top member of the House, argue the money, which normally would be refunded to taxpayers, gives Colorado an opportunity to help the people most in need. It's always those that need the most help. They are so caring, those Democrats.
Yes, they are. They're so caring. They want to give you a hug, and they want to make sure that you can do whatever you want, and things like where you want to do your drugs, and you know, okay, there are a couple things there that are going to pop in my head that I sometimes need to filter myself, and I should not say the next couple of things out loud, because I would have a conversation with HR later today, and they already know me too well, so no. Yeah.
Well, that's essentially what they run on, right? This idea that there's always people in need, and if you have money, well, then they are the ones to take it from you and give it to other people. This is money that belongs back to you according to the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and they are instead deciding that they're going to spread the wealth around. I think Barack Obama was famous for saying that, right?
Yeah, he was. And the thing with the Democrats, and especially the ones here in our state legislature, the issue that I've got more times than not is, now, Jeff, you're a little bit, no, this could be actually in your wheelhouse. Back in the day, in the mid-1980s, there was this fad about these little cute cuddly teddy bears, and they all had a little symbol on their tummies.
The Beanie Babies, right?
Yeah, no, they got the symbol on their tummies, and then the symbols told you if they were happy or what they were, and they're all teddy bears, and they were the Care Bears.
Bears. There you go.
And remember that when the Care Bears got into a problem, when they had to solve something, what did they do? They had to care, and they had to care really hard, and they cared so hard that rainbow powers shot out of their tummies, and they fixed everything in the world. And I think that's what we have in the Democrats, is the Democrats line up and they say, this is all going to be fixed if we just care enough, and we care so much more than you, and you're being so mean to us because you obviously don't want to give us the money because you don't care.
And that argument that if you don't buy into where they're giving the money, you don't care about low-income people with children. The child tax credits, which were introduced this last Friday, would direct up to $3,200 per child younger than 6 to the lowest income families in the state. You know, not a terrible idea. That credit would taper down as qualifying families' incomes increase, up to a limit of $85,000 for single filers and $95,000 for joint filers. Those families would receive a $120 credit. All right. So I have no problem with the idea of giving tax credits to young families, right? Especially, I mean, that's an incredibly challenging time of life when you're trying to care for these new lives that have showed up in your families.
And they don't even give you a manual.
Right.
They just hand you the baby and just say, here. I mean, at least when we adopted a dog, there was a house visit. None of that. They're just like, hey, new baby. Bye-bye. Wait, isn't someone going to come with me?
Did it latch? Yes. All right. Go home.
Oh, that was an issue too.
It can be fed. Go home.
Yes.
What frustrates me is that where the money is coming from for this. So the state could prioritize this, right? In its original budget, it could say, we're going to make sure they get money. What's happened, though, is in all the other things that they fund, they've decided that we have a surplus. We're going to use the surplus for this as opposed to going back to the taxpayers. Yeah. And I mean, guys, if you're probably like me in my world, just about everybody I know has 2 jobs right now.
Oh yeah,
just about everybody. Some people have 3. They're driving on the weekends. They're doing trivia. They're trying to make it ends meet, and so to pull that funding from taxpayers in order to go into the special project gets me really frustrated. Text message here. So let's get this straight. Our state is trying to figure out a way to spend surplus money while they talk about cutting services and raising taxes. Yes. That's exactly what they want to do. We were able to connect with Penn in the midst of this historic outage, cell phone outage that's taking place here. Penn Pfiffner, Let me just pull up his background here so you all know. As a former Colorado legislator, he chairs the TABOR committee. He was an Independence Institute senior fellow and president of the Colorado Union of Taxpayers and led campaigns to defeat tax measures. He's a former Navy officer. He also taught college economics. Penn, we are able to connect with you. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me here.
So we were laying out what the Democrats are trying to do down at the state capitol. They are trying to take a large portion of the state's $1.8 billion surplus this year to provide child tax credits targeted to help low-income families. The idea of child tax credits targeted to low-income families, not something we're opposed to. But taking a surplus to do that, when you could have incorporated that into other budget items, does seem to be the wrong thing to do. Can you give us your thoughts on what the Democrats are doing to TABOR down at the state capitol?
Yeah, and as you said, helping families is arguably something the government has as a goal. And traditionally, we know in our culture that if the government is going to do something like this, it's going to do it through a welfare program. So in Colorado, the citizens have said to governments at all level, you can spend what you want as long as you conform to a total budget that we give you every year.
Right.
And what is happening here is that the government is trying to set up a brand new welfare program by over-collecting the taxes and then using the rebates instead of funding an appropriated government program. So you got to ask yourself, Jeff and Bill, and the listeners have to ask themselves, if this is so important to the progressives down there, why do they restrict it just to the good years where there's a TABOR refund?
Right. And is this the proper use of a TABOR fund? It seems to me that the way TABOR was set up, and we're talking with Penn Pfiffner, who's the chairman of the TABOR committee. It seems like the way that this was all set up was that if you want a tax increase, you have to go ask the people for it. In this case, they're just keeping what should be refunded back to the people. It seems to violate the spirit of TABOR.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I was part of the groups in the 1980s that started the whole TABOR concept. And at no point did the proponents of TABOR think it should ever be an instrument to redistribute income. And yet that's exactly what is happening here, is that the progressives in the General Assembly are saying, well, you folks have too much, and we have a group that we want to favor here by giving money back. Now, as we started this conversation, we can say if the General Assembly has decided to have a welfare program, it should do it honestly, it should do it openly, and not use this backdoor method. The proponents of TABOR envisioned and hoped that as any collection occurred, the government then would adjust its tax rates downward to get rid of those sort of over collections, those higher revenues that would come in. And that just, obviously they're getting around it down at the state capitol. And I think you and I know that if you're going to have a government that's successful, you're going to have a government that listens to the citizens, then it's got to be one with virtue. And it's not virtuous for the General Assembly to try this backdoor method.
Now, Penn, got a question for you in this, because I like that idea of the government being virtuous, and I can agree with you on that. Now, don't know if you listen to the show. The thing that I do is ask the difficult questions. So here comes your difficult question. Can't the Democrats make the argument that this plan is virtuous because they're taking care of the poor kids? I think if I was on their side of the aisle and you're looking for virtue, whether or not it is fair, that's the argument they would make. How do you respond?
Again, that
there are ways to do this properly, to follow the rules, and to listen to the citizens. Now, the citizens just recently said, with Proposition HH going down in flames last November, leave the TABOR rebates alone. If you're going to do this right, then make it a priority, make it permanent within the budget. How can you say, oh, we think this is a wonderful program, but we're only going to fund it if ever there's a tax over collection?
Holy crap.
And we
Now,
know that our
Penn, now, I got to tell you that verbally, based on the question that I asked you, you just, I would say in the sports parlance, you would have postered the Democrats, meaning that in the NBA, the Democrats would be that person standing under the rim and you come in and do the sky dunk on them. You just did it. That's exactly right. 110%. Your argument is 110% right. That if this is such a great idea, you libs, then make it in public. Stop trying to steal the money in TABOR. Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Well, you know, the progressives have a very basic philosophy that at it, really the core says they want to level the income. They don't want people to have wealth over here when there are people that don't have that wealth. They want to make it equal.
Equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity, is their function.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And pick the winners and losers and figure out who gets what. It is a focus on distributing the wealth that people create. And that inevitably, in every society, has led to poverty, not the sort of improvements that they say they want to see, and certainly that fiscal conservatives like you and me are striving to get to.
Talking with Penn Pfiffner, who chairs the TABOR committee, give us your sense of how TABOR is withstanding all these attacks. I know the Bell Policy Center and Scott Wassenberg seem to exist only to attack TABOR. You have all these efforts happening at the state capitol to redirect the refunds into state projects as opposed to giving them back to the people. But vote after vote, it seems like the people of Colorado are fiscally sane compared to their elected officials. Is TABOR going to stand? Is it going to withstand all this?
Well, I think you're seeing this as looking at a good situation right now, and will it become worse in the future? The TABOR committee has a sister organization, the TABOR Foundation, that has gone to lawsuits several times over real attacks on TABOR, just depredations that should not have stood. Whether it was the Bridge Enterprise Fund, and we can get into that some other day, or a number of other things, a hospital provider tax that went through without a vote of the people. We've filed lawsuits only to lose again and again. And people have heard me say this before, so it's no secret that I believe that our judicial system in Colorado has been just corrupted by its antagonism toward TABOR. And we have reached the point where very respected attorneys are saying, why would you ever bring a lawsuit that would go up to the Colorado Supreme Court when you know they will take any argument that turns A into B, that turns something that is into something that isn't, that'll redefine words in preposterous ways. So we have seen TABOR weakened throughout the years by the judicial system. And at this point, they're allowing the legislature to say, well, if we say it's something, then it is that, even if you and I know common sense says not. How many times have we heard the General Assembly say, well, we're going to impose this new charge, but we'll call it a fee, not a tax.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it will continue we will continue to see people attack TABOR, but it's a wonderful tool for the citizens to control their government.
I think what we've got to see in the state of Colorado is that the people of the state that vote on these ballot initiatives, that are fiscally sane in their own personal lives with the businesses they run, and they want their government to be fiscally sane as well. You've got to stop electing these people that are willing to just take out the taxpayer Bill of Rights, keep the money that's due back to you, and they want to spend it on these government programs. Stop electing them. Seriously, I mean, they bring this up every year. They're at the state capitol right now. I'm looking at a big picture of Chris Kennedy in the Denver Post. He's come up with a new scheme. He's got an idea. He's got this new belief and this new program that's really going to help the people of Colorado, but it's going to rely on your tax refund. And rather than going through the traditional budget process, these guys scheme and they scheme and they scheme to go after. And when the issue itself is on the ballot, the voters of Colorado will vote the right way, and then you send in the same people that are trying to take it over and over. Stop electing these TABOR tax fund stealing elected officials.
You know, Penn, I think it'd be nice if we could really hear how Jeff feels. Could really tell us. It'd be nice. Now,
I don't understand it. I sit here every election. I'm like, yes, Proposition HH went down. Yes, we took the income tax down a little bit. Yes. And then we put in literally the tax and spend deceitful leftists every single election back into office. And I'm sitting there going, how does that disconnect happen? Penn, I'll ask you this. How does that disconnect happen in the voters' mind in Colorado?
Oh, you're asking me a question above my pay grade. If you want a little bit of history to how it is that this got through in terms of allowing this loophole, we have to go back to the 1988, 90, and 92 elections, where the opponents of TABOR would point and say, oh, this is a long amendment. We can't believe how much stuff is in here. And yes, TABOR is comprehensive because it does try and it does succeed in many ways in keeping people from abusing it. But one of the loopholes that we had to leave in there, and if memory serves, we were recognizing that it would take a lot of language to be specific about how you give back any refunds. And so all that TABOR says about that is that the refunds don't have to be proportional when prior payments are impractical to identify or return. So that's how this loophole opened up for the left to abuse.
Wow. Now that's interesting. Now I got a question for you, because some of the conversation here and hearing the emotion with Jeff that I agree with, how do we go about explaining to the voters the easiest way to comprehend TABOR and how positive it is for them in their daily lives and at their bank account and pocketbook? Because I feel like we have gone so many years with TABOR that some of the newer voters, both being moving in here and younger, don't really have a good structural comprehension of how positive Taylor Swift thing there. Sorry. TABOR, a little bit of a Swiftie thing. Sorry. That's a Freudian slip. How good that TABOR has been for the Denver economy and how it has really constrained the amount of taxes that are taken out of your paycheck.
Well, of course, what you're doing right now, Jeff and Bill, is to bring light to the importance of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
Let's use that term, the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, instead of just TABOR. And let's recognize that even though it really gets the left torqued off, it's a pretty modest proposal. First of all, it's silent on appropriations, so elected officials are the ones that have to determine what gets funded. But the importance here is that, like everything else in life, we recognize that government should have a limit. Here's your budget. And the way it works is citizens tell the government, you can have the budget you had last year, plus an automatic increase to cover additional costs, that is inflation, and additional demand, that is population increases. And there are slightly different formulas for school districts and a different formula for local government, but it's the same concept. The citizens control the total budget. Now, if the government wants to spend more on what it calls public goods or redistribution of income, it must go to the voter and say, we want to increase your taxes in this way or this amount. Do you agree? And then people can sit around their kitchen tables and say, you know, do we want to spend another $500 this year on government, or do we want to have it for our family? And it becomes, it allows a citizen control where they didn't have it before.
Penn Pfiffner, who is the chair of the TABOR committee, former Colorado legislator and former Independence Institute senior fellow. Thank you so much for being on this program. And I want to encourage people to get involved with the TABOR Foundation. So go to thetaborfoundation.org, thetaborfoundation.org. Guys, as conservatives, it's like the only place we have left to advance anything in the state, as voters generally tend to support fiscal sanity in the state. And I appreciate everything that the TABOR committee, the TABOR Foundation are doing to defend TABOR. And Penn, thanks so much for being on the program. Hey, if you're losing your hair because of this effort to take away your TABOR refund and you need a simple solution that works, you want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair. Address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the Advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll also get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll take your calls and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
48 with flurries and cooler today. It's going to be cool. You got to just get to the weekend. 60 and 67 Saturday and Sunday. It'll be nice. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill show. We just had Penn Pfiffner on talking about this effort down at the state capitol. Noble effort. We want to help families, low-income families with kids get a child tax credit, but we're going to pay for it via the surplus that should be refunded to all taxpayers. So rather than putting this in their budget, Chris Kennedy, Democrat down at the state capitol, feels like he's best to manage the money due to you by holding on to it and then refunding it back, or giving it to this program and not refunding it back to you. Aaron from Denver, you're on line 1, Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Yeah, Jeff and Bill, pleasure as always, guys. Ronald Reagan was right. I'm the government, and I'm here to help you.
That's great. Scariest words, right?
And former President Ronald Reagan, he was 100% right. What makes TABOR unique in this country is that we're the only state that has TABOR. The other 49 states don't have TABOR. Yeah. TABOR was put in there for fiscal sanity. If they had TABOR in California, who knows what they would have done with TABOR in California? Because of course California is in beans and beans and beans and beans of debt currently, and it's in their constitution to balance their budget at least once a year. Hell, they can't even do that.
Now, Aaron, I like the idea when you're talking about TABOR and the impact fiscally, because we saw during recent economic downturns, even over the last just 15 years, that oddly enough, when all the rest of the states were struggling, Colorado was doing just fine. We weren't rolling in dough, but we didn't have the same financial difficulties in government that all the rest did, primarily because of the structure of TABOR. It didn't allow them to get out of control like the Dems want to do right now.
Oh, yeah, no question about it. That's what TABOR is there for, to live within your means. I mean, I have a budget. I live within my means. I can't live the lifestyles of the rich and famous because I'm not rich and I'm definitely not famous.
Famous in our heart, Aaron.
You are. And my kids have the same issue. They're like, Dad, you should be more rich and more famous because we need more money.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have the money, so I have to live in the real world. It's called the real world. Aaron, live within your means. But the guest you had on there, he was exactly right. We have a judicial system in the state of Colorado that's corrupt because a fee is a tax or a tax is a fee. I mean, hell, they're so discombobulated in our state courts. And of course, the Supreme Court is definitely corrupt to the core, especially from this latest ruling with Trump. So he's exactly right. Our system is corrupt, and it's been said many times. And I don't mean Merry Christmas. Elections have consequences, and you just said yourself, Jeff. Why are people voting for these people, putting the same old crap in and getting more crap and more crap? You got to hold people accountable to live within your means. I look at my paycheck. I'm paying $6 something cents for this parental leave. The progressives got that on the ballot, and now I'm paying this fee instead of letting the private sector handle the parental leave. No, big mama, daddy government is here to save you, to take care of you from cradle to grave. That's not the role of government. And then you have the sidewalk fee. I'm going to be stuck with that bill. You got the trash fee, stuck with that.
Yeah. Now, Aaron, I got a question for you. Now, you just talked to us a second about the idea of the government coming and saying, the big brother, big sister, big father, hey, I'm going to take care of you. Yep. Now, let's talk about how do we break that cycle with voters? Because psychologically, if I come to you as a voter and I know that you're struggling, I can say, well, look, I can have this government program that is going to solve X, whatever I feel is your pain point. Now, psychologically, I am taking that anxiety away from you. I'm taking the responsibility away from you. And now, in theory, you don't have to worry about it, all in exchange for a little bit of your liberty and a little bit of your tax money. How do we break that cycle?
Man, it's education. In this country, we have our financial literacy is in the toilet.
Yeah.
That's about. I mean, that's really what it is. It starts from young through high school. How do you balance a budget? How do you live within your means? It's financial literacy.
Hey,
I mean, I hear it all the time.
Aaron,
I mean, we have the so-called president wants to bail out students who got in all this debt going to a school to get an art degree.
Yeah.
It's financial literacy. It's financially, and that's gotta start from young, high school.
Aaron, I really appreciate the call. I want to read a
good
text
point.
message to you. I truly love this guy, Aaron. He is so cute. I love to listen to his voice.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hey, you got a fan. You got to call us back, my friend.
5311. You can guess the rest of the digits and maybe call, and maybe there's a love born there.
There's a match there.
This thing amazes me. We are overtaxed. They spend our taxes on things that are budgeted for. And then when there's a surplus, instead of being honest about it, they sit behind closed doors and they just try to figure out ways to spend more money on these crazy programs that they keep coming up with. That is exactly what happens.
Yep.
Here's, as somebody who has worked in this career field for the last 20 years, the only way to shrink government is to starve it. It's the only way you do it.
Interesting.
There's no other way once a program is created to get rid of it. They will never shut down a program. You have to starve the beast.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, here's the issue that I've got with the starving the beast. And again, just to explore that, and I do agree with you because I don't firmly believe that any government program is actually built to solve the problem. Because if it did, it ends and then the jobs go away. So I absolutely fundamentally agree with you on that one. The issue I've got with the idea of starving the beast, let's use an analogy like a human. When you start to starve the beast, sometimes the body
hangry.
Well, no, the body turns on itself, and in order to fulfill its nutrients, starts to break down muscles, bones, ligaments, things that you need. It doesn't always eat the fat. And when we starve the beast, how do we make sure that we eat that we're eating the fat? How do we do that?
You elect competent people.
Oh God, you're asking a hell of a lot. Do you understand what you just did?
Hey, speaking of competent people, good people that would lead our government much better than the ones we currently have, Mitch Floria and The Art of Granite. When it comes to creating the perfect kitchen or bathroom countertop, it's all about understanding the client's needs and personal style. That's why communication is key. Mitch Floria is the master craftsman with The Art of Granite and works with his team of highly skilled craftsmen, each with their own unique expertise to help you bring your vision to life. From single residential installations to large-scale projects, Mitch and his team at The Art of Granite will listen to you and get you what you need. Mitch provides granite, marble, quartz, and other materials from his own warehouse in Denver West at wholesale prices with no markup, so you can get the most for your budget. Mention KNUS and receive a bathroom countertop free with the purchase of your fantastic new kitchen countertops. Or get a kitchen or bathroom sink free with the purchase of any countertop package. Schedule a consultation with Mitch and visit his beautiful showroom in Denver West. I've been there. I've sat in Mitch's office. This guy loves America. He's got framed Constitution Declaration of Independence there. Or call Mitch at 303-386-5919. Or you can visit his website at theartofgranite.com. to start dreaming about your countertops. Again, website, theartofgranite.com or 303-386-5919. That's theartofgranite.com. All right, I want to switch here just a little bit on topic. Denver Post leading this article. Another downtown Denver restaurant closes, blames lack of office workers. Now, Three Saints Revival won't be and it won't be the last to close its doors, the owner said. Three Saints Revival is the third business in downtown Denver to close this month. The colorful Mediterranean restaurant located at 1801 Wewata?
Yeah, Wewata. Yep.
Wewata?
Yeah.
Held its last services on February 18th. Owner Robert Thompson, the original founder of Punch Bowl Social and upcoming Camp Pickle, opened the restaurant in 2021. He cites the lack of downtown office traffic as a reason for closing. Denver Post had another article about another restaurant that's closing downtown because of the lack of foot traffic down there. And I called them yesterday. They're still at a voicemail. I said, hey, we'd love to have you come on and tell us their story. We'll let you know if we hear from them. We don't take the Western Conservative Summit downtown anymore.
Now, why? What was just briefly, the elevator speech as to what the decision
feedback was it's not a pleasant experience.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, and I'm a dude that lived downtown, and
Did
I'm
you?
not talking. I'm talking. I grew up on outside of downtown. Much to my mother's chagrin and father's chagrin, we could bike to downtown on our bicycles.
Nice.
So so we had there was some fun. There was some openness there, but I actually lived on Poets Row for a while. I lived on 13th and Downing for a long time. So I've been downtown. I am an urban street kid.
Are you?
The idea when I walk through downtown and I have the buildings next to me and I hear the cars, there's something special there. The slight odor of, it's basically a mix of restaurants, commerce, and urine. But, there's something special there for me. But I like it, and it connects with me. But like you, I can't go downtown anymore because of what it's become. And if we go back to the same 3 cents, one of those has become much more prominent in part because of what's going on downtown, and it's an issue.
So the office vacancy rate in downtown Denver, which tumbled during the pandemic, was 30.9% in the fourth quarter of last year.
Ouch. Jeez.
That's the vacancy rate.
That is crazy. Now,
so
question.
Only 1/3 of the
ridiculous.
Offices in downtown Denver are filled.
Now, question. Now, this is a hard developmental thing, but what's the merit to, if you're owning one of those high-rise office buildings, to try to convert it to housing? The problem being plumbing. That's the issue in going from office to individual. But
because we all share one bathroom.
Yes, exactly. And we know how well that works out sometimes. We have stories for you. We have an office worker down the hall that I'm not going to get into that because someone's eating. So anyway, it's so difficult to change over that office space. But could that twofold, in one way, revitalize downtown, and then second, also bring in more commerce based on transitioning that and relieve the housing problems? But again, I understand it is a heavy investment on the front end precisely because of the plumbing.
The low office vacancy combined with economic and other forces have made it impossible to stay in business.
Yeah, I get it.
The restaurant team wrote in an Instagram post. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the city of Denver. Maybe we're wrong. Kyle Clark, you're welcome to call in and call us racist for not wanting to go downtown.
Yeah.
He seems to do that on just about everything. But
it's a badge of honor, though. once he calls you a name, now you've arrived.
Right. Are you not willing to go downtown anymore? We really don't as a family. Western Conservative Summit won't be down there anymore. 303-696-1971. And what needs to change that would get you downtown?
Yeah, why don't you go?
I'd be happy to hear from you, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go, and their all 5-star reviews confirm this. Here's what some of the overjoyed customers have said. Life-changing. So much wasted space in our kitchen cabinets. My space has literally tripled, and I'm so happy. This is a top-notch company. Excellent product, excellent service, and installation. We had shelves installed in the laundry room and kitchen. Makes a world of difference in accessing items. I highly recommend them. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll-em-out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you. 303-475-9601, rollemoutshelves.com. Jay, we'll get to you in just a second. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara, says voters would support the Republican National Committee paying for the former president's growing legal fees. While campaigning for her father-in-law, Lara Trump said she wasn't familiar with the organization's rules about paying the fees, but the idea would get broad support. Last week, the former president publicly called for the removal of the RNC's current leadership and suggested Lara Trump should serve as co-chair, even though he isn't the Republican nominee yet. US authorities have charged a suspected Japanese crime leader with conspiring to traffic nuclear materials from Myanmar that could have been used by Iran to build a nuclear bomb. Takeshi Ebisawa is currently being held in a Brooklyn jail and also facing drug and firearm charges. Patrick Falk reports.
Well, U.S. authorities have described it as chilling to imagine had Takeshi Ebisawa succeeded in his plans. He's accused of trying to sell uranium and weapons-grade plutonium, which he believed would be transferred to Iran to build a nuclear weapon, except the person he was trying to sell it to was an undercover drug enforcement agency officer. The samples are said to have originated from Myanmar, and he is separately accused of also trying to purchase a large quantity of military weapons on behalf of an unspecified Myanmar rebel group.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Cell outage across the U.S. AT&T is working urgently to restore services as more than 70,000 customers are hit by nationwide communications blackout, but mobile providers are refusing to reveal the cause. Customer reports about the outage spiked around 4:30 or 4 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday. The largest number of issues was reported by AT&T users, which peaked at 51,000 customers just after 7 a.m. before jumping to over 70,000 an hour later. So far, the companies have not provided an explanation about the widespread outages. It could be anything from an EMP.
Sorry, just teasing. That's what it's going to sound like.
EMP attack, maybe too. I think it's Men in Black. You know, it could be the space aliens. And someone brought some technology to this earth. We'll be tracking all of this, especially for the show tomorrow. We're up against the end of the hour, but let's go to Jay real quick in Sterling. Jay, you're on Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Thanks, guys. I'm a farmer, rancher, industrial designer, so I can weld, carpentry, build houses. If there's a problem on the farm, we fix it. I got an idea, and I want your thoughts on this.
Shoot.
If we segregate these people, if we buy some ground outside, we can buy some calf huts like we put our milk calves in or something like that, and buy a little bit of land outside of town. But the restaurants, this solves the restaurant problem too, because then they can cater to the place. So therefore they would be off the streets, a little lot.
Oh no, the sellout.
Oh no, the sellout hit him. No, Jay.
Oh, Jay, the sellout hit you. I think his plan, he's called in about this before, is taking the homeless out somewhere east. Yeah, I mean, you can't imprison people for being homeless, so you can't like force them where they need to go.
But if you created a micro community and had job training and, you know, things like that, where there was some freedom to come in and out and they were near somewhere that maybe could be some employers, again, everything has to be too perfect for it to work.
I used to volunteer at a homeless shelter in Denver or in Los Angeles called Path, which was it was like a mall. So if you need a haircut, you could get a haircut there. You need a suit, they get you a suit. You needed job training, they get you job training. And then they also had a residential component.
How'd it work?
When I think it worked for some people. Look, there's a myriad of reasons why people are homeless. Some people just like that lifestyle. They just want to live it. Other people are drug addicted. Others are going through a really tough time. They've had a crisis. What you don't account for is that oftentimes we have social capital to rely on. So Bill, you and I had a problem. We have parents we could call. We have family members. We have friends. They could, stay in our couch, stay in our basement. We'll take care of you, that type of thing.
Maybe your friends, not mine. They don't take me. They know me.
But you have a lot of people that have burned through that social capital, and they don't have that role anymore. So it depends on the type of person. It depends on the issue they're going through. But I think you're going to see the city of Denver, and we'll cover this more tomorrow. More and more businesses closing. If one third, Bill, of the businesses down there are occupying office space, 2/3 are empty. I don't know how you run a restaurant.
I don't know how you run a restaurant. And here is the larger, bigger earthquake that we aren't seeing yet. What happens to the tax base? That is going to be significant. We have budget shortages in Denver right now, and we're losing significant taxpayers. This is huge.
We'll be covering that and the cell outage tomorrow on the Jeff and Bill Show. Up next, Charlie Kirk. You're not going to want to miss him. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a great day.